Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod. I'm your host, Josh, and we have Reed and Blake with me in the Escape Pod right now. We are going to be watching The Force Awakens, which is Star Wars Episode 7, 2015, done by Disney. Disney's first Star Wars movie, done under the Lucasfilm banner. And it's definitely not our favorite, but prep those Blu-rays or those Disney Plus pages because we're going to be chatting about it as we go through. We're going to sync up in a few minutes and hit play all together. But yeah, this is not our favorites, so just a disclaimer there for you guys. We are watching it though because it is Star Wars, so let's get to it.
Another happy landing.
Have you ever wanted to re-experience classic radio once again? Well, the Old Time Radio Comedy Time Machine and the Yes Dear Old Time Radio podcasts are there for you across the internet to do just that. With the classic Jack Benny series and the CBS Radio Mysteries, we're here to bring classic radio to life. So, search us up and enjoy the rest of the show. All right, welcome back, boys. We got Blake and Reed in the Escape Pod.
Good to be here. Thanks again for having me. Glad to know I didn't get cut like some people.
Yeah, man, good to be back.
Always good to have you guys back. I feel like you guys are the only ones that have really taken an interest in doing this sort of thing.
Well, it's been fun. Honestly, I don't know why the other guys didn't keep joining, but I guess they're busy or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just glad.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the thing. They have a good time, but yeah, they just have other things that they'd rather do, I guess, right? And other priorities and stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool. This is kind of become our thing. So we're gonna have to figure out what to do once we get through all these movies. But
I think
so
we were talking about doing some of the Star Wars Squadrons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah, we got Squadrons that we could talk about, which I'm gonna make a big push to try and finish that campaign. I think within the next week.
Big push,
yeah, big push. Like we're gonna finish the campaign so I can actually talk about it.
Is it just that much of a struggle for you to get through it?
Honestly, it's not actually that bad. I'm enjoying it. I don't even know because
I think
I've
it's
only
like
played
14 missions for each faction, so it's not
bad.
like a
That's not bad. Yeah.
No, for what you paid for the game, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I think for me, it's more like finding the time in the evening to do it, and I've been pretty bad recently about actually prioritizing playing video games. Now it sounds ridiculous when I put it that way.
Prioritizing playing video games.
I know. Some people have an issue prioritizing anything else, but I mean, I'm like, I'd rather just kind of, I sit at my desk all day working from home, and I, it's like when I'm done, it's like the last thing I want to do is try and kind of focus intensely on a video game. So I find myself, making dinner, relaxing for the evening if I have an evening, to do what I want to do, and I just crash on the couch and I've been watching Suits. So, I'm like for the last 2.5 maybe ish weeks. I think I'm like almost done season 3 or something like that. Like I've like really binged that show, but it's been cool. It's been a good show. Have you guys seen that show?
I actually haven't. I know my family was really into it for a while, but I never got into it myself. I haven't tried it. I just was watching something else at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit. I haven't watched it all. I think I watched a little bit of the Clone Wars finally.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Chronological.
Oh, yeah, nice. Are you doing it in chronological order?
Yes.
Nice. That's my man right there. Okay.
Isn't that fun? Watching one episode and have to check a list to see if you need to go 3 seasons over.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah, it's honestly you got to print the list out and just cross them off, and
Yeah.
it feels good.
So I think I'm literally only like 2 or 3 episodes in, and now I've got to watch.
Oh, the theatrical release.
Yeah, the theatrical.
Yeah. Right.
Feel
yeah.
free to skip
But-
that. No one will judge
So,
you.
as you know, but if you've already gone through the first 3 items, then you now get the feeling of like why chronological order makes more sense, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching these, and I was like, man, I'm glad Josh and them told me to watch this in chronological order, because I wouldn't have the slightest clue what's going on, because there's not a lot of like
dude.
preamble.
It's
some of these
insane.
episodes.
Yeah.
And there's not like they're not long enough that they can be like, oh yeah, like here's a bunch of like contextual information about what's going on. It's like no, it just throws you right in, and you're watching
Mhm.
them like go about their mission
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, it's very much that way. And if you don't watch chronological, it's even worse because then you have even less information going on. I don't know
Yeah,
why
because
they
then you
released
feel
it
like it jumps all over the place. If you don't do it chronologically, like Blake said, then you get this sort of like, oh, that character's back, and it's like, no, he already died, and
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
back.
this weird inconsistencies. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like some of this stuff is an entire season apart. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
would I be able to remember any of this stuff? Like, what the heck?
It's crazy, man. It's nuts. There's no other show that does this, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. I guess
like,
it was
I
just
know George wanted to release the movie first, or maybe it was the producers.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think that's the only reason, but it makes no artistic sense at all. And if they tried to do that in this day and age, I know for sure Filoni would just shut them down, like no problem.
well, yeah,
He was-
because he
he was
didn't
just
do
hired.
Rebels that way.
No, he didn't. Like he was just hired for that show, so he didn't have any weight to throw around at all, right? But I'm sure.
Yeah, he was like George's apprentice at the time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think George just wanted
Yeah.
something in the theater. That's really all I can take a guess at.
Yeah, I mean, like it's it's interesting because nowadays, like a lot of shows, like especially like the Netflix series that or series, I guess is the word that are released nowadays, or even the Prime ones, like they're kind of all meant to be binge watched. Like they kind of just
for
release
sure.
them all
Yeah.
at once, and
Mhm.
so like now that I'm watching this show now, like it's not so bad because I have access to all those episodes, so I can
Yeah.
just like between Plex and then like everything else, I can just like be like, oh yeah, like I can like hop from this season to that season, watch
Yeah.
this like theatrical release, and then do the same thing over again. But like I couldn't have imagined like trying to watch all this stuff like just week by week or whatever the release schedule was,
Oh,
like
man.
when the season came out.
Yeah,
you wouldn't
it
be
was-
given an option to do it in chronological. You just have to watch it. Be
Yeah,
super
just sit
confused.
there and be like, oh, okay, like now we're over like doing this. Like, all right.
yeah.
And then like another season later, you like hop back to like the next part of the first episode.
It's pretty crazy, and like not only does like the chronological part make more sense, but it also, because it's not like the first 2 seasons are garbage or anything like that, but there's definitely a lot less
It's rougher,
there's a lot less preferred story arcs in there, for most, including myself included.
Yeah.
So it's like, people going through season by season tend to like somewhat skip those first 2 seasons, which is,
Yeah, I know. I did.
it's almost, I know you did, but it's
I
almost too bad,
tried.
because like there's some things in
Yeah.
there that are very crucial for like later on,
Mm.
because like the very important characters that become very memorable, like Ahsoka, and like, because the Clone Wars ends up being her story, right? So
Yeah.
like her beginnings come from those first seasons, and like you see the transition of her being this like snippy little naive girl to this very capable Jedi who ends up being what she is later. So like it's a very like, it's like I didn't like her character at all, like when I first started watching the show.
I
And
didn't
then
either. I don't think anyone who had was old enough to have already seen all the movies, and like specifically like the prequels in their release order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone in that group enjoyed Ahsoka the first time that they saw her.
No, and I think she's probably the only character in Star Wars history to really actually win over everybody in the audience.
Yeah,
After so much time, like I can say that with full confidence that she is probably the only character that's ever been able to do that. And I think a lot of credit goes to Ashley Eckstein for the performance, Dave Filoni for the writing and the direction, and then of course the rest of the team, and especially George Lucas, who created this character and specifically wanted an apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, who is this female Togruta. So
young,
Are you
snippy, hard to listen to Groot.
are you talking about the
Exactly.
movie itself that like won over people, or
No.
like the entire
no,
Definitely
series?
like
not.
over the
Definitely
span of the
not.
show. Yeah, over the span of the show. Like definitely not. Yeah, when everyone. So that the
Oh, yeah, I guess
movie is where people
chronologically
started.
where she's first.
Yeah, where she's introduced, right? So it's over the course of the show, and by the end of season 7, she honestly becomes one of most people's favorite characters.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd say the part
Like
that you
ever.
start to actually like when she's on screen is probably like season for
3.
me maybe
It's season 3.
late 3 or 4. Yeah,
Yeah. It's midway through season 3 is when they started doing a lot of visual changes to the show.
yeah,
And they upgraded the models. Like they kind of aged her a little bit, gave her a different costume, and the very iconic dual lightsaber thing that she has going on.
Mm.
So that was kind of like the turning point, I think, for her character for a lot of people. And it was just like that maturing moment for her.
yeah.
So-
She was a lot less childish after that.
Yeah. So it's and then whereas Rebels, on the other hand, I never got too attached to Ezra Bridger, honestly.
I didn't either.
I didn't hate him, but I've never been a huge fan of him at all. And
he
although
kinda-
I did like Kanan Jarrus quite a bit. I love Kanan.
What's funny is I like Kanan better in the book than in the show.
Yeah, I know. So the book, I think, was done for that more mature audience, right? But then I guess being a kids show, they had to dial it back like a lot. So
Yeah, I can see that because
and because the book came before the show, it was like
it made it really
oh,
disjointed. But like in the book, he was a lot more of like a cowboy-ish character, whereas in the show, I thought he was a lot more mopey.
yeah.
Was just there to like complain to Ezra that he's doing it wrong, and I feel like that's all he really did.
Yeah, like the book made him a little more confident than I think he ended up starting out in the show.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I did like where they took his character, and I love like kind of what happens in the end. But yeah, it's you'll enjoy the Clone Wars. So I mean, keep us updated on like where you're at, week to week. Just say I don't know. Give us a rundown as to like where you're at.
The theatrical release right now, and so once that's done, then I'll be kind of back into the swing of like the actual episodes and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Well, speaking of characters that we can love and not love, I mean, to a lot of people, The Force Awakens was an awakening for what Disney was going to do with the sequel trilogy, which turned out to not be the biggest fan favorite. And this is, of course, a movie that is very interesting for what it is, because it's not only the first one that Disney did under the Lucasfilm banner, but it's also the biggest change of direction from the very beginning. This is the movie that is responsible for this entire outcome of these 3 films, because they had the outline for the sequels that was done by the maker, George Lucas, and they just threw it out the window. And they did that after writing the first draft of this movie and realized, we don't want to do this. We're going to make something different. And honestly, the response of this movie was very good. Like, it was very well received by the public. But me thinking back to those days, I think there was so much hype for just a new Star Wars movie in general that if that movie were to come out today, I don't know if it would have the same response.
So, sorry, I just want to say, so it's funny that you talk about how like they threw out George Lucas's like plan like concepts, I guess is maybe
Yeah.
the right word, because they're like, oh, we want to go our own direction, and like I'm up to a certain extent, I'm all for like a certain amount of creative freedom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
like what's like my greatest criticism like of this whole movie is just that is how like uncreative it is.
It's
Because
ironic, isn't it?
it's so ironic that they're like, no,
Yeah.
George, we're not going to listen to what you say. We're going to do our own thing, and they make like the exact same movie as like A New Hope almost. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's different in a lot of ways, but just like the main plot is so unoriginal. It's like laughable that they like threw out an opportunity to look at something that like is original, like George Lucas's concepts and stuff, and to make something like so uncreative is it's just
I
like
mean, for especially being for Star Wars, which is George's legacy and his goal, like was using Star Wars as a vessel for many, many other things, including, reinventing the film industry over and over again. Whether it be converting theaters to digital, fixing up theaters with THX sound systems, like, or even just reinventing how visual effects were done, like everything that came at pacing of the film, the way that there's no actors credits in the beginning. I mean, like all that stuff, like it translates into today, and as it's modernized what we watch, in today's film, right?
It's true.
So it's crazy. Like, Star Wars has changed the planet, and I mean, The Force Awakens did nothing to change anything. In fact, it was just a rehash of or a recreation of trying to recreate that nostalgic feeling for a lot of these people who grew up with those first three films. And it's like it might be something nice for those people to see again in a different format, but I mean, going forward, it's not going to have this lasting effect that it had on people 40 years ago. I mean,
No,
40 years
for sure.
from now, The Force Awakens is just going to be that other Star Wars film that came out in 2015. And there's nothing iconic about this movie. Like there's nothing iconic about this movie that it had on any impact to the rest of the planet. You know what I mean? Like I can say with
Yeah.
full confidence that there was nothing in this film that changed anything about the way movies are done today.
No,
Like,
certainly
and-
not from a
no.
technological perspective.
No.
like I've got to be honest, man, like to me, like when I think about like the legacy of like this movie, to me it's just like a crappy remake.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. Like
It
plot
is
hasn't
very
changed much.
common
They've got a bunch of
perception,
cool
yeah.
new characters and blah 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 that they try to make into like a team and stuff. And I mean, like, sure, they've got like some of the cast of the old characters, but other than like Han Solo, none of them really play a meaningful enough role that it like contributes much to the film.
Mhm.
Right. Well, I mean, that all being said, I guess we'll unleash the rest of everything in the course of watching this movie. But I mean, it is a Star Wars movie, regardless, whether it's
Yeah.
all our favorites or not.
Yeah.
And
It is part of the grand saga that is the Star Wars.
it is
Yep.
supposed to be. So yeah, let's get into this here. Let's do the countdown, and then we'll hit play. All right. So I'll hit play in. So for everyone at home, we're gonna watch this on Disney Plus, and if you got your Blu-ray ready or whatever, launch your app up. We'll hit play in 3, 2, 1. Punch it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I was waiting for it too.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I will say, I don't know if I ever felt any more possible hype for a movie that was coming out my entire life.
Honestly, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I agree with that.
when this movie came out, I think I saw it 7 or 8 times in theaters.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta say the hype around this movie was pretty hard to compete with. I think, I mean, when I see when I compare the hype to this movie that was, to the Phantom Menace, though, I honestly I gotta say the Phantom Menace I think had even more
You think
hype
it's even
than
higher?
this one did. Yeah, like I think there was more build up around this movie that had already been teased for over 15 years, rather than a movie that kind of got announced after about a decade.
Right.
Actually, not even a decade. It was so
It
episode
was a
3 came
long
out in
time,
episode 5,
Mhm.
and this movie was announced in 2012, at the end of 2012.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it was
So
only a
7
handful
years.
of years, but
Yeah, it was only a handful of years. Whereas like
it
episode
felt like
5,
a very long time.
it did feel like a very long time because we didn't think there would be any more, right?
Yeah, that's the big part of it.
Whereas like people who grew up like early in the earlier days when Star Wars first came out,
Yeah.
episode 5 was episode 5, right? Like when episode 5 came out, episode 4 was relabeled to be episode 4.
Yeah. So we
A
got
New
into
Hope. So
what was to come.
exactly. So
They had to
people
wait
have been waiting
so
since
long.
1980. Yeah, since 1980 up until 1999, 19 years.
It's a very
That's
long
a long time to wait for a movie. Yeah.
A very, very long time. Yep. No, that's a good point.
I mean, if they said right now that they were going to make a Star Wars Old Republic movie in 19 years, I don't know what I would do. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, people will have like been born and died before this movie will come out.
Exactly. And plus, on top of that, if they said on top of that, the technology is not with us at the moment that we can accomplish what we want to do for that movie, I'd be honestly be like peeing myself with excitement. I'd be like, this is going to be the most insane movie I've ever seen.
So, quick question: who is this old guy? I never understood who the heck he is because he's like, oh yeah, like, she's royalty to me, blah blah blah.
Laura Santeca.
Because he's not in any of the old movies, so I'm like, why am I supposed to like know that this?
So there's some kind of built up background history around this character that we actually don't have any history for still. I mean, they've kind of filled in the gaps with some of the comic books, but there really isn't much about it.
So this scene just confuses me so much because they get like a stellar, like A-class actor.
Yeah, they did.
To play this guy that I'm like, who talks like we're supposed to know him, like between what him and like the conversation him and Poe have about like Leia and stuff, it's like we're supposed to know him, and then we don't. I like, what the heck?
It's a mix of two things. Firstly, JJ loved how George, when he did like A New Hope in all of the movies, he told the story where the characters, you could feel like there was so much more outside of the movie that you weren't being told, but it made the world feel alive, right? So he was a big fan of that, which would lead to the situation with a character that's in that position. Yeah. And as far as him being a famous actor, I think there was just a lot of famous people that were like, oh, Star Wars movie, I'll do any part. I don't care. I just want to be in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that. And on top of that, I mean, with that thing that you mentioned about the built up history, the difference is that George actually had this built up history, like in an outline where Luke Skywalker was talking about the Clone Wars, and that was in George's head for the 20 something odd years that it was before he decided to make that a movie, right? So or like show that on the screen, and at the time it wasn't even a glimmer of hope that we'd even get that, but it was still a story that was in George's head that he was going to do if it ever presented itself, right? And the difference with that compared to like this, like it's a kind of like this artificial built up history. It's kind of there to mimic that feeling. It's like, oh, this guy's known this other guy for a very long time, and this is a very built up moment over what, and it's really just it's there for nothing. Like it's there for no reason. It's just there for cosmetic purposes, I guess.
Yeah, so this was another thing that bothered me, is because I liked Finn's character. Like he was a cool character.
Yeah.
But the logic behind him switching from like First Order to like the Resistance, I guess we call it now. I didn't understand that, because it's like this whole thing right now. He's like, flabbergasted or shocked that his friend or something like that was killed, and then he suddenly realizes all this killing and stuff is so bad. He's like, oh my gosh, my best friend just died, and then he turns around and he's willing to like slaughter his old like comrades. Like, what the heck?
That's true. It is a weird turnaround. Like,
it is, yeah. It is because the thing about Finn is that this is his first like battle, so to say. And it is strange because he's been raised since he was like a baby, right? Like they were like all these stormtroopers were kidnapped from their families like at a very, very young age, and raised to basically be stormtroopers. And
so all the people that he grew up with like spent his entire life with up until this point,
his
and
only
he's
family.
Like, one of them gets killed, and he's like, now I'm willing to kill all the rest of them.
I don't think it was a friend being killed that said, "Oh, I need to destroy."
See, this is what makes the clones. This is what makes the clones so awesome, because like they call each other brother.
Yeah, like where's the brotherhood? Like you don't like.
There's a brotherhood in there's a brotherhood in war, right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, all of my like current or ex-army buddies, like, dude, like brotherhood is everything in a military unit, because it's not just about like the training and the teamwork and stuff like that, but like you have like a relationship with those people that you're not going to get like in any other aspect of life.
If we
exactly
missed it now, I won't be able to get back to it. That force, when they first added that force power, was pretty cool.
That was very, very cool.
That is cool. Yeah,
that freeze thing is pretty badass.
Yeah.
A lot of people get annoyed by Poe being like this, kind of like sarcastic and like almost like out of the moment of what's going on. But I don't know. I don't mind it. I can see just being some like cocky pilot that he's been. Especially now that we know that he's this guy who's just like never failed at anything. You can see why you would have so much confidence and not really be too concerned about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that didn't really bother me at all. Like I know humor, like some people weren't a huge fan of that. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not like, it doesn't bother me, but I have to say though, the difference in the script with these movies and all the previous the previous George, like the Lucas films, is it does feel very different. Like when you like hear some of the characters talk, it's like that was not written by George Lucas.
No, that's fair. George had a really good job of making each character feel really unique.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it almost feels very modern in a way, where it's like these characters are almost I don't know, like, I mean, I hate to like,
I think
George isn't much of a writer at all.
No.
So I hate to like diss his writing ability, but it's almost a part of Star Wars to not have very great writing. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what you're saying, but yeah, because that's there. Yeah, like it's not an insult. It's just like, I mean, storytelling, it's brilliant, but as far as like dialogue goes, it's always struggled with that. But it's become part of the Star Wars identity, and these almost feel too clean.
Like it's almost very like live performance theatrical, or like a midday like drama series.
Operatic or something. Yeah.
I mean, and to go with that, you find out that like the original cast, 3 of 5 are all related to each other. So it does have that very like low key, like maybe like 90s or 80s kind of drama feel, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's how George described. It was a space opera.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, these almost feel like way too clean compared to those movies at times.
One thing that I will say I really loved about probably more this movie than the next two, but all three of them to some degree, is just the level of cool props that they took from the other movies and like used them for different purposes. So like her goggles are from a stormtrooper helmet. I thought that was super cool. Like take something old and like refurbish it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like her being a scavenger, it's very appropriate to like have that kind of correlation and
Really just anything that isn't part of the like the mainstream two powers, right?
Yeah.
Just like they just use what they could find. And there'd be a lot of that. We found out later that there's that massive battle. The final battle is on this planet, right? So it's probably all sorts of stuff even beyond just the Star Destroyer lying around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit of history on Jakku is that the final battle between the rebellion and the Empire happened here 29 years ago. And that's why all these Star Destroyers are kind of crashed and everything, because it was initially Jakku was rigged to blow by the Empire, part of Emperor Palpatine's contingency plan if he died. And his idea was if he died, he wanted the Empire to die with him, so that because it was a failed empire for basically it's like the ship goes down with its captain kind of thing. And there was all these comic books and books that kind of built up this contingency plan. The Battlefront 2 campaign. There was a comic book called Shattered Empire. The Aftermath trilogy of books. There was a decent amount of things that kind of piped in this story of if Palpatine ever died, this event would transpire. And naturally, we find out later on they kind of went back on that, and it's like, oh, he's actually not dead. But all this stuff happened anyways now, and it left like scars on this planet with all these downed ships and everything. So I always liked that idea around Jakku. I always liked the idea that they had this like
it's almost become like his graveyard planet.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
And also a failed attempt at, because the plot to blow up Jakku with all the rebellion ships around ended up getting thwarted. But
a lot such a sad moment. Just looks across the table and it's like, that's my future sitting right across from me.
You can see it dawns on her face too, right?
Yeah.
But Simon Pegg.
Oh, Simon Pegg.
Oh, love it.
Simon Pegg had the audacity to, he was like sweating in the costume and all this. Anyway, he loves Star Wars, right? At least he loves the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. And anyway, his buddy J.J. Abrams gave him this part to play. And on the documentary behind the scenes or whatever, he's like, I'm sweating. I'm doing this for Star Wars, as if it's some like high honor that he's like,
it's like a sacrifice.
Like, come on, as if it's a sacrifice, but it's like
for him to be there.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Like
Simon Pegg's an amazing actor. They could have given him like a pretty kick butt role in this movie, but they made him this schloggy.
Well, I don't think they would have ever showed his face because he was in Star Trek, right?
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
they probably want to stay away from that kind of like.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Cross contamination, if you will.
Yeah.
But that bread thing, by the way, that little bread trick was that's actually like a legitimate thing. That wasn't VFX or anything like that. That's a real ingredient that you can make at home if you have the right stuff. Yeah.
Is it edible?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
What?
So sorry. Back to what we were talking about though, with her like looking across the bench and like seeing her future basically.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that bothered me about this movie so much is that like they kept like she was just so obsessed about going back to Jakku or whatever.
At the end. Yeah. Or like she really wants to get back. Well, she's waiting for her parents, right?
Yeah, but then
so
like
her parents will show up and she won't be here.
Yeah, but it was just like, I don't know. I didn't like it because it just like forced us to come back to Jakku so much. Whereas like with other Star Wars movies, like at least they like move on to like other
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, it's
right?
not like we go to Tatooine more than once.
Well, yeah.
At least
Well, you
not in
know,
the
you
same
know what's
movie.
funny. You know what's funny about that is like she's always trying to get off Jakku and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the end of her story arc ends with like her ending up on just another desert planet, living in somebody
True.
else's house.
Yeah, like what the fudge?
Just a squatter.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What did you guys think of the BB-8 droid design? Because like this is like the first like major character that was like
Yeah.
a big change from the standard like astromech and
I
protocol.
think the design is cool.
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
like it's kind of like impractical and
Yeah.
goofy, which is very Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually really like the design of BB-8.
I
Yeah.
did too. Yeah. I always thought it was pretty cool. I don't like how throughout these 3 films they took so much away from R2 and 3PO
I
because
agree
of
with
him.
that. Yeah, that he got so pushed in the background because like when you
Well, it didn't
we
surprise
find him-
me.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, I was gonna say it didn't surprise me because I mean, you got the most of the original cast of characters that show up to varying degrees in all of the films. Then you have the new cast of characters that are supposed to be taking over from the old cast, but we still have the old cast in the movies.
Yeah,
And then somehow on top of all of that, they're supposed to fit in R2D2 and C3PO and stuff. So it
Yeah.
didn't surprise me that they
Right.
were basically like pushed off to the side because
Right.
yeah. But sorry, yeah,
no,
didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, it's fine. Like, no, that is fair. That is a lot of different characters to juggle. But I guess because we knew we weren't going to see them much in this movie so much, but I guess maybe an inkling in the back of my mind that it's the like original duo of droids. They're in all the movies, right? So like even if they
Yeah.
were underused like they are in some of the prequels, I thought at least they'd be around that much instead of a cameo per movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this is another kind of forced trait that they sort of focused in on was like the fact that like you can read minds with the, this force thing. And
Yeah.
I guess, it's not actually something that we saw in any of the other movies. They more or less just like sensed things and, Palpatine just knew things without needing
Yeah.
to do that. But it is something that I actually like a lot is, forcefully almost extracting thoughts
Yeah.
through the force like
Well-
out of someone's brain. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was like like other than like the helmet removal, I quite liked Kylo Ren's character, and like for that reason because like because most of the characters like Vader and Palpatine, right, are very like experienced, powerful Sith and stuff, right? And so he's a powerful Sith, but he's like he's a rookie, right? He's new,
he's
he's
definitely
raw,
a rookie.
and they did a great job like portraying that like rawness of his power because like unlike Palpatine, he can't just chill back in his chair and read Luke Skywalker's mind or whatever. Like he has to get up in their face and like practically like grab them almost to read their mind. And then like even his lightsaber design, like very very reminiscent of like just his character itself, like how
Yeah,
raw
that's
and
true.
untrained he is.
That's a good point. And
Yeah.
I think they did do a really good job of that. And he's arguably the best character in this trilogy, I would say.
Oh yeah, like his story arc is the one that I liked the most out of
Yeah.
all of the characters in this trilogy. I think they did
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
way
Adam
better with
Driver
his
did a
than
great
everyone
job.
else's. Yeah, he did.
That being said, I do wish he would have wore the helmet more. It just felt
Yeah.
like once
Like,
he
I
took it
get
off,
it,
he just
they-
never put it on again.
Yeah, I get it. We
That's-
need to see his
yeah.
face, like because he's like they want to
Actor,
show who
yeah,
the actor is and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, and in a way I do like the fact that it's like in this movie, like when he had it on, as soon as he took it off, it kind of bothered me.
yeah,
And it's
Yeah.
kind of like how in The Mandalorian, it's like what he says, like once you take the helmet off, you can never put it back on again.
that's
And he
funny. I
means
wonder
that.
if they said that just because of the fan reaction.
Yeah, well, it's true though. I mean, because once someone sees your face, it's like the
mystery is
the
gone.
face. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
it's almost like I mean, it's almost like the Batman principle, right? Like it's like it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me, right? Like it's like that kind of thing. It's like so like his face is the Batman, and it doesn't matter who's underneath the bat mask. What matters is like this mask stands for something.
Yeah.
So like Kylo Ren's mask is designed to intimidate fear, and it's like when he takes that off, it's like that fear level is just gone, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because realize he's just some squirmy kid, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
See,
that
like,
being said, I do like the next movie, and that he really kind of amped up the performance, and
Yes.
then I could appreciate it without the mask. But in this movie, it kind of ruined it for me.
Well, what's funny is some close friends of mine, they watched this movie and they liked it up until they saw his face, and then they couldn't take it seriously. And I don't think they ever watched the rest of them because it kind of ruined it for them. Like, that was Sarge, by the way. Yeah, he said because. Do you guys know who Ron Howard is? Is that right? No, I'm getting that wrong. Yeah. There's like this. There's a live talk radio host who's really famous, and he looks kind of like Kylo, and like they just couldn't unsee that once they saw his face. Is that right?
Yeah, look up his name. Yeah, what was that, Reed?
Is that right?
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say that like kind of a lost opportunity I think they had is that like they touch on how obsessed he is with Vader, like since he's the grandson of Vader and stuff like that, and so like they do a great job of kind of like showing his obsession with Vader and stuff, but kind of a lost opportunity is that like they could have like done something to him. Mask off, like where maybe he like tried to mutilate himself or do something to himself to kind of hone back to like to make him even more like Vader and that kind of thing. I mean, not that I'm advocating for someone to mutilate themselves or whatever, but to make them a more compelling character in a movie. But just like I don't know, it could have been an interesting opportunity to play
it's
to that.
interesting that you mentioned that, because that's where Colin Trevorrow's script would have taken his character if he had his way with the movie.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's like he would have gone further into darkness, and almost he wouldn't have been redeemed, apparently.
Yeah.
He would have been kind of this tragic lost character, and he was supposed to go so down in the depths with his quest on becoming more powerful and more evil to be like Vader, that a holocron that he's like looking at blows up in his face or whatever, and kind of mutilates his actual face or whatever. And I think it burns his helmet to his skull or something. So it would have been like this, almost like this, like image of somebody who is working to be like he's trying to be that mask, right? And now that mask is permanently welded to be his face.
Yeah,
so,
see, that could have been what. Yeah, like that's just such a lost opportunity.
It would have been pretty cool. I think it was a much darker movie than Rise of Skywalker ended up being, though, which is why I think they ended up not going with that plan. But
right,
that would have been super cool, though. I love that idea.
I love
idea.
The script was called Duel of Fates. The whole thing is leaked out online. Colin Trevorrow confirmed that it was legit. So it's like you can, in fact, look it up and see the beats as to like how the story would have progressed, and it would have been my preferred version of Episode 9.
Definitely, yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Was Palps in it?
No.
Oh, I like it already.
I had a feeling that Palps was brought in last minute because they didn't know what to do.
It was. Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was. Absolutely. Because, I mean, let's not forget that J.J. Abrams doing Episode 9 was a last-minute decision, too, because Colin Trevorrow was the guy that, was doing it. Like, it was a last-minute decision just as much as this film was bringing J.J. in to direct it, because the first full draft with concept artwork and everything got scrapped. Like, that was based on George's idea.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
It sucks because Episode 7 and 9, both the movies that J.J. Abrams was involved with, are both the movies that got scrapped last minute and redone over again.
That's a good point.
Yeah, JJ's just got this curse linging to him. He's the rebooter.
Oh my god.
Booter.
I mean, I liked what he did with Star Trek. I think he did great with Star Trek, but
Yeah. Well, what's funny is he just made it into Star Wars.
yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone thought it'd be fantastic to have JJ work on a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
they realized, oh, he can't actually make something that interesting or original.
Yeah.
Or he's good at like throwing out ideas, but he can't really write an ending.
But like that's the thing is like,
for example.
he cannot write an ending for it to save his life. I mean, like not only did this movie create Starkiller Base, which was just another Death Star, but his final finale for episode 9 was another super weapon, which was thousands of Star Destroyers with mini planet lasers on them.
It's like, well, we can't have one big thing with lots of planet-killing lasers, so let's make lots
Palpatine's,
of things with planet-killing lasers.
Yeah, and then make it Palpatine's plan to begin with, sort of thing. It's like, my plan from the beginning was not to have just one Death Star, but 2 Death Stars, and then a Star Killer base on top of that. And if that didn't work out, I would have many mini Death Stars all over the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's just like stuck on this one idea. Like,
all of which can get blown up like instantly if you hit the right spot.
Yeah,
like, including the Star Destroyers, just like pew 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 pew, boom, the whole thing dies.
Oh man, so bad. I love that creature though. By the way, that's a massive piece of puppetry. That was like a big animatronic that they made.
He's like, this is so gross.
What did they call it? They had a really good name for it on RFR.
Oh yeah, it was like the snout. Was it the puffer pig? No, it was dang, I forget. No, that was the Rebels puffer pig.
Okay, they had such a good name for it though. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Everyone's just watching. He's like, oh, dang.
I love her face coming up here.
Oh yeah,
just so ridiculous. Look at it.
So angry.
She's like sticking her lips out, but like they're open. It's like she was told to look menacing, but she's never done it before.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's crazy about Jakku, like Nima Outpost, is that gate that you see from the entryway is that was used in the promotional images for this movie. And there was fans online that pointed out that this is in fact the same design that Ralph McQuarrie did way back when I think it was the first movie when A New Hope was getting concepted out. And it's cool that they nothing at Lucasfilm goes unused. It ends up getting recycled somehow, some way. And if it doesn't, it just remains to be there as inspiration. But it's cool that they actually made this like a lifelike thing. It wasn't until much later that I actually realized that this is also a tidbit that they added into the Force Unleashed 1, I think it was. It's like one of the Sith missions or whatever. You end up at Jabba's palace. And they had this exact gateway outside the doors of Jabba's palace on that map in Force Unleashed all those years ago. So it's pretty crazy. Like, it just goes to show how nothing ever gets unused, or nothing goes unused in the end. If things eventually get recycled or used in some way, some form, which makes me wonder what they're actually going to do with George's outlines for the sequels, like whether or not we'll get those adapted into a comic book, or maybe those will get released online as like some notes that we can read through, and maybe it'll make its way into Star Wars Insider in the next year or two. But yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Also, massive, massive wasted opportunity to have her fight with a dual bladed lightsaber.
Oh yeah, that's something else that would have been a Duel of Fates.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
why did they not do that? It just makes so much sense.
It makes
It's
a lot of
so
sense.
Cool. Like, yeah, the transition from the staff to the dual lightsaber. Like, I would have been on board on that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Colin Trevorrow would have been the right call.
Yeah,
honestly,
man.
It was a way more preferred version of Episode 9 for me. Like, there was more that made sense. It was actually like a real. I mean, it embraced the fact that Last Jedi did what it did, and it just rolled with it.
Really?
Right. So it didn't feel like an out of place movie at all that tried to like change things.
So it didn't pretend that Last Jedi didn't happen, basically.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's not that I don't like Rey's character, but she really just doesn't interest me at all. Like I don't know. Like, when I watched this movie, I didn't really have that much care for her, I guess,
Well, they never give her like any like meaningful reason to be a compelling character, other than the fact that she can use the Force and stuff like that. They don't. It's not until Rise of Skywalker that they give her like a legacy to back her. Like, at least with like Ben, like he's got that lazy. Or Kylo Ren, he's got that legacy from the start. Like, there's he has a huge,
which makes him interesting.
Yeah, there's so much backstory to him, and like so much like to dive into with like the fight between like good side, light side, all that stuff. But with Rey, like, we don't know anything about her at all. Like, the entire like series until the last movie, they're like, oh yeah, just so you know, you're the daughter or the granddaughter of like a Palpatine or whatever.
Yeah, old Grandpa Palps.
Yeah.
So by the way, that Ankar plot like line like 2 minutes ago, or whatever, like that's mine. Like, such a memeable moment right there. Like, I actually really like that. Yeah.
That's mine.
I mean, you and I quote him all the time, Blake. Like, it was just like with,
1 quarter ration.
That's mine.
For how long he's in the movie, he does have some good lines.
Yeah, he does. He's a memorable character for the few things he has.
So this is one of the things I loved about like this movie, though. Like, they did such a good job with like the visuals, and like this was such a cool chase and stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely
cool. Yeah, like flying amongst this destroyed Star Destroyer. It's just so cool.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome.
You can't have a more cool setting.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he climb to the other one?
Right? That's what I was wondering. I was like, bro, you realize it's a patch, right?
He just sits there.
Yeah.
Like, and he has to know there's two because he crawled down the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could go to the other one.
Right?
He's just too lazy, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna give up here.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
we've already established he's not the most like thoughtful character in the world. Because I mean, his friend dies, and now he's decided he's gonna
That's-
kill all of his brother.
That's true.
So now he's like, he's like, oh look.
Makes her just do all the work so he can get the kill.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Woo! That kill's mine.
Yeah, I got the higher kill death ratio. Suck it.
Yeah.
Did you see that kill I got? Did all that myself.
Oh gosh.
This part kind of I don't know. I just thought it was a little ridiculous when I first saw it.
Yeah.
He just like throws a tantrum.
Yeah.
I didn't find it funny, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, it felt kind of strange.
I think it's supposed to make you feel awkward. Like
Yeah.
this guy's like kind of childish.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like, I think that's like one of the biggest things I noticed with like the Disney like takeover of the franchise is that like with Poe's character and the type of humor that he has, and then like these really like awkward moments and like awkward sections of dialogue, you can tell 100% they pulled that from like the Marvel movies and stuff like that. Like there was a huge, like, I just remember there being like a shift after the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like even in the Marvel movie themselves, like they changed over a lot, like with like the Thor movies as well, like Thor Ragnarok. Like the
Yep.
Thor movies up until that point had been pretty serious, and then with
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, they tried to force that type of humor that they had in Guardians of the Galaxy onto like all the characters all of a sudden, and it just made it like, I really didn't like Thor Ragnarok, but like here
Mhm.
you see them doing that. I mean, a lot more dialed down than from like the Marvel movies, but like they're still doing that type of like awkward humor.
Yeah.
And so I think that, yeah, the tantrum is just one of those moments because you're like that really just happened.
Those Disney-fied humor moments.
Yeah. That was,
Because George's kind of humor is very slapsticky, and
Yeah.
And honestly, again, it's kind of become a like a piece of identity of like,
yeah, dude, like
Star Wars in a way.
I love those one-liners and stuff. Like those were great. Like
Yeah.
I mean, like the franchise was originally made in the 80s, so like
It's true,
for them to
right?
have one-liners, like that was
77.
great. Like Obi-Wan's one-liners in
bad feeling
the
about
prequels,
yeah,
so good.
yeah, like things that aren't exactly going to like make you laugh, but like are kind of there to just partially lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, like the mood a bit or whatever,
Like,
but
you
not
don't know.
like, take you out of the moment completely. Like
Not
that's what
sure.
bothered me.
Mm-hmm. You're not sure if you should chuckle or cringe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's why I didn't
most
like
of these jokes are like, you know,
like, with this movie. Like it's, I mean, I don't know. You're kind of used to it by this point after seeing a lot of the other Disney Marvel movies. But I just remember like Guardians of the Galaxy. I loved both those movies. But then like when they tried to take that humor and force it on Thor Ragnarok, like it was awful because like Thor Ragnarok is like a really serious movie. There's like a lot of like heavy duty like moments happening in that movie, and that type of humor that they're using like takes you out of those moments, which totally
yeah.
ruined the movie for me. And so with this, it's like it's most of the time it's not too bad, but there are some of those moments where it just kind of like I didn't need to be like, zoned out of the movie, right? Like I want to be like focused on the movie, like enjoying the moments, but they kind of that humor sometimes really ruins the moment.
Right.
Oh man. That was exactly where they. How does she speak Wookiee? At what point did she learn to like
learn Shriwook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Force power. So are all the original cast just like galaxy-wide famous?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
I was pointing out that everyone knows who the original cast are.
Oh yeah, I
In
know.
universe.
Yeah, it kind of shrinks the size of the galaxy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about that. Also, like, I don't know what it is with all the original cast members, characters being so like mopey and like just
They're
depressed
mopey,
and
yeah.
degraded and depressed. Like it's like I don't know. I mean, like yeah.
I mean, Han Solo, we all know, doesn't even want to be here.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you Han Solo? I used to be.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Got out of it till Disney offered me a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
More than Jabba ended up paying for. Don't tell me they're doing another one.
Gosh. Oh man.
What do you guys think of these Rathnars?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, yeah, these Rathars are basically straight out of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Dude, yeah.
Which came first?
I think this came first.
Oh, okay.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this came first. Yeah.
Okay, so Guardians 2 ripped this off then.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think it's like vice versa. Yeah.
Right? It got me
That
wondering,
was
though.
such a great line.
It is a good line. Do you think every Star Wars movie has to have a monster scene in it?
No.
Because I was
don't
thinking
think
about this.
Yeah.
Every single one has a monster scene except for Episode 3.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess 1 and 2 definitely have it.
Yeah.
Where
What's
was it?
the New
Episode
Hope
4?
monster scene? Yeah.
Are you talking
It
about
was
like
the garbage compactor monster.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's something. And
Yeah.
Episode 5 had like the creature in the lake, the swamp.
Yeah. The Wampa.
Snake. The swamp snake.
The Wampa
and
was the main one, though.
The Wampa was the
Right.
main one. Yeah.
Right.
That's true. And the space worm.
And then the Rancor in Episode 6. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, honestly, everyone except number 3. And some of them are better than others. Like, I don't mind the garbage compactor monster. I don't mind the Wampa, but like,
it's funny because Episode 3 is my favorite. So like maybe I don't know. I've never been the biggest on like monsters, but
I don't mind them like every once in a while. But I'm starting to get this vibe like everyone is starting to feel a little forced.
Yeah.
So this
Like,
moment right now that's happening between Han Solo, this is like to me this is so hilarious because it's basically like these two like demographics or ethnic groups coming after Disney. They're like, listen, Disney, like you left out the Asians in Star Wars and you left out the freaking Irish.
Yeah,
Like
So they make a club of each of them.
right?
these British elitists and stuff. Like, and so they like the Asian guys and the Irish are just pissed off at Disney. They're like, bro, what the heck, man?
Yeah.
Promised us.
Yeah.
You promised. You deliver.
Here's the thing that actually annoys me, though, was this is so underutilized. So the Asian group there, I forget the name of their crew.
You're like Kanji Club.
Yeah, Kanji Club.
Kanji Club.
Oh, Kanji Club.
Two of those guys are the main actors from the action movie called The Raid.
Yeah,
And they all did these live action stunts that were insane.
dude,
and I
those
remember,
movies were awesome.
yeah, they were awesome. And before this movie came out, they were bragging that they had the Raid guys in this movie.
Yeah, that's right.
And they didn't use them at all.
No,
Yeah, they just
ran away and get eaten. That's it.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what a way. Like, that's such a cool, badass fight scene.
dude. Yeah,
There he goes.
honestly, man.
I feel like there's so many things in this movie that, like, this guy's one of them too. He was the villain from the first movie.
Right.
Yeah. Like, dude, in freaking Rogue One, like they have Jet Li, or is that's Jet Li that's in that one, right?
Jet Li died in like 2000.
Or sorry, Donnie Yen. That was Donnie Yen.
Yes, sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. But sorry, I knew I missed.
Jet Li died so long ago.
Jet Li, I was
But,
like, wait,
but
that's
Donnie Yen, Donnie Yen
Donnie
is
Yen.
an IP man.
he make him a
He's
blind
IP
guy, and they still give him good fight scenes. Like,
It was better. At least he got to do something. But
Yeah.
I will say, Donnie Yen had probably the worst one-liner in the entire Star Wars series. Because he does this.
Horses with me.
No. He does in the fight scene when he's fighting all the stormtroopers. He uses his stick and hits one stormtrooper in the foot, and he goes, "How was your foot?" And it's just like not received at all, and like blink and you miss it. It was supposed to be like this punchline, you could tell, but then they just like changed their mind, but they just didn't cut it out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Almost as if it was a take that wasn't delivered properly, but
Yeah.
they just decided to use it anyways.
Exactly, and I notice it every time, and like even the sound on it is like lowered, so you can't hear it as well over the music. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it feels wrong. This feels like it should be a moment, but they just skipped it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because he should have paused and be like, "How's your foot?" And
Yeah,
then,
they should have like
continue.
camera cropped in or something. Like,
Yeah, but
nothing.
he's so busy fighting, and he's like, "How's your foot?" And then he just like,
and
keeps
it
going.
just like cuts. It's like it almost the cut of the to the next shot is almost early enough to cut off the line itself.
Yeah.
This was another thing that was kind of annoying. Is that like Chewbacca is like a pretty like critical character throughout like the original movies and stuff, and as soon as he gets hit in the arm, like he's down and out for the rest of the franchise. Like,
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that after all the years that I mean, we're talking 29 years between this and the last movie, plus the original trilogy, and then all the years between Solo and A New Hope, which was about 15 years. So I mean, we're talking like over I guess that would be like over like 40. Almost over 40 years, around 40 years that Han Solo and Chewbacca have been a team, and not once has Han Solo tried Chewbacca's blaster that he knows, like the kick that it delivers.
That's a good point.
I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, it took all this time for you to like try your buddy's gun.
yeah.
I'm not touching that ethnic garbage.
Yeah. I'm not touching that thing. It looks like it popped out of a tree.
All right, so here we go again. The Irish are like, "Dang it, Disney got away again. They didn't include us in their bloody movies."
Yeah.
They're going after him.
Yeah.
Who just informs the First Order that
Oh yeah, right.
Who
They're just
like-
casually in touch with them.
Yeah, like, oh, by the way, that little line there, the Last Jedi, like that Snoke said there, like I think that's where the next movie, plus the opening crawl of like Luke Skywalker, The Last Jedi, or whatever. Like it's there was a lot of evidence leading towards the next movie being called The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So I actually like the title of the next movie a lot.
Fair enough. So what do you guys think now of this giant, huge, glowy guy? The fact that he just like was grown in a tank, and there's like thousands of them.
I know, right? It's so like
Yeah.
underwhelming. It's
It's
so
so
such a
now
wasted
that
opportunity.
it is, and now that we know like that's what he is,
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling the character. Like it just sucks almost.
There's
Yeah, he's
actually
so
one
menacing
thing-
right now.
There's one thing that has dawned on me right now that has just actually started to annoy me that I didn't notice because I haven't rewatched this since the last one came out here. The Emperor says, "I was Snoke." So does that mean like he's in Snoke's body right now? Because they have very different personalities.
So they've kind of in some of the source material books that they've released recently, they kind of made it clear that Snoke is his own being,
Okay.
but Palpatine kind of controls him like a puppet. So he is completely and utterly loyal to Palpatine, but I mean, obviously, like that was a last minute change.
Yeah.
Like the intention behind this character in this movie was that he is the guy in charge of everything, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what they go for. He's supposed to be like, I got the vibe, the Emperor as you see him in like Empire Strikes Back.
I think they should have rolled with the fact that Snoke is just Plagueis that came and, you know,
Yep.
took Palpatine's failed empire from the ashes and actually made it successful, right?
That's honestly the best story they could have done would have been Snoke being Plagueis. Honestly.
Yeah.
I stand by
that
it.
would have been
I think
the
so too.
easiest, most best explanation. I mean, technically, if it was Plagueis, they should have made him immune. Or is it the species is called Mune, right? M-U-U-N.
I don't know if that's in canon anymore. Is it? I don't think so. I think that was just the expanded universe.
The expanded universe, canon has never confirmed exactly what species he is because so far in canon, all they've confirmed is in episode 3, like that little piece of evidence there that Sidious talks about, right? It was the book Darth Plagueis and some other expanded universe material that led to Plagueis being immune, over any other species. So, forever he's just kind of been accepted as that species character. But, I mean, I would have been okay if they changed it. It's not like they haven't changed things visually in the past, things that we haven't seen before or whatever. But, it would have hid the evidence a little bit from audiences until we actually saw the movie. And then it's like, oh, like that's him. And, because I was still waiting for that reveal in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like when episode 8 came around, I was still waiting for us to like figure more out about this character. And then he was just knocked off, just dead, killed off. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter who he is. Like nobody cares. It's the focus is on these characters now. And it's like, like I kind of wanted to know more about him.
But like, it's funny because JJ talks about these lines that are one-off that again you go back in and like build this whole thing out of. He could have done that. I think he didn't want to because it was the prequels, but
yeah,
that one line was a character that could have tied all of the movies, the entire saga together. And then they wanted someone bit like stronger than Palpatine, and he was already written into the story, and then they ignored it.
Yeah, exactly. It was a huge missed opportunity. And honestly, I do think it's just JJ's ignorance towards the prequels.
Could be that. I think it was also Disney and JJ, because I think they were afraid that there were so many people that disliked the prequels that if they do that, they're going to alienate people and they're not going to make as much money. Let's be honest. It all comes down to money.
It all comes down to money for Disney, yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember when there was this interview and someone flat outright asked JJ at a panel, is Plagueis going to be in the movie? And it was him and Kasdan, and they both said, who? Like they'd never heard of him before.
Yeah.
And they were very genuine in their response.
I vaguely recall something like this. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that video. It's like, like these guys should not be making Star Wars. Like they just don't have a right to. They were given the job anyways, but It's like those are the best couple lines that Ian McDermott ever delivers in like the whole
Oh, man.
saga.
Those,
Like
so
that
quoted.
entire that's
Everyone
like
knows who that line is, right?
yeah, like it's so iconic. Like I mean, this isn't just me like being angry like for no reason. Like I mean, like
I had it
it's
on my
like
Tinder profile for a while.
Darth Plagueis
Yeah.
the Dark Lord of the Sith. Like he's like this is such an iconic like paragraph that he has, and it like it's arguably his best performance in like the entire saga. Like when he sits there with Anakin Skywalker and delivers that stuff, like that was all. I mean, he had a basic outline of like what to say, but like they did it a few times over, and that take was all just him.
I believe it. He's a very, very talented actor.
He's a super talented actor. Yeah, incredible. Doesn't pay anything.
He's like, I'm old, I'm tired, I don't want to be here, I want someone else to do this. Take the job,
pretty
dang
much.
it.
What do you think of that blaster there, Reed?
Oh, the little one that she's holding?
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you like a minute ago when she was pointing it and like looking down the sights, she had no idea what she was doing. But other than that, I mean, I don't know.
You usually have something to say about the look of some of these blasters, so I'm just curious.
It's like, I don't know. They took like a revolver, it looks like, and then they put they removed the only part of the revolver that's still there is the like the grip basically, and then they they flattened the whole cylinder section of what the revolver would be, and then they just added like what looks like some like suppressor compensator type thing. I don't know. They probably took like a snub revolver, put some sort of barrel extension suppressor on it, and just like put material on it to fill in the section with the cylinder. I don't know.
Looks pretty custom, yeah. Not really made out of actual gun parts, like a lot of the handguns or blasters.
Yeah, like a lot of the old original stuff is just like, they grabbed like, it's basically like they raided a bunch of Hollywood sets for like guns and stuff, basically. Like, like because back in the 70s and stuff, right? They made or 60s and 70s, made lots of World War II movies. So all those guns are just raided from different sets. Oh, to the left of the big guy there, that gun that he has there is literally just a Barrett 50 cal, like an M98 or whatever it's called.
Not even modified.
Oh,
they add like a slight little extension onto the end of the muzzle brake. That's it. It's literally the exact same. So in Star Wars Battlefront 2, that's actually one of that's like the best sniper rifle other than like the cycler rifle or whatever it's called. And it's literally the 100% exactly the same, unchanged as the Barrett 50 cal, except for that little nub on the end that they add to the muzzle brake.
That's funny.
Yeah,
it's crazy that there's all these like informants around the galaxy that just keep reporting like just random crap. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, don't they have better things to do? Like in the
movie, paid to sit there and just like wait until something happens.
Yeah, it's like the chances is just like. Yeah. But also, I'd like to add in like all those flags outside Maz Kanata's castle before we get too far. Is that Anakin's pod racer flag used to be up there. In the trailer, you can see it, and in the movie, they took it out.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know they took it out. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, they took it out.
I guess people figured out what it was, and they got rid of it.
No, people figured out what it was and were raving over it, and then JJ probably figured out, oh, this is a prequel element. Let's take it out.
Probably.
So stupid.
He probably wouldn't notice, right? Like he probably didn't even know.
I don't think so. They probably just like put up some random flags and then whatever. Just like they thought it'd be cool, so they stuck it on there.
Exactly, and then someone made the call to take it out, and I'm assuming it was him.
Probably JJ. Yeah. Like I thought it'd be cool, but they figured it out, and I gotta get rid of it.
Yeah.
You can't let the nerds win.
Pretty much.
What were you going to say?
Between him and Kathleen Kennedy, like Kathleen Kennedy openly said, she's not like catering to the fans or anything at all. It's like doesn't surprise me.
Sure enough.
They go into a back room and they're like, all right, what are we gonna do to make fans more pissed off?
How do we undermine them this time?
Yeah.
Like they have like a table, like a League of Evil.
Yeah, we're gonna make a trailer and we're gonna put this flag in it, and then we'll take it away.
By the way, that what she's eating right there, that looks like a hollowed out apple with like a bunch of like crap inside of it.
Lol.
Like some avocado and raisins.
I mean, I'd eat that.
Yeah. It'd be funny if it flew out of her hand, landed on a table like across the room, and Hayden Christensen's just over there smiling like with his fork and his knife, and then goes to like cut it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't get this. I don't get this.
It's so weird.
And what were you going to say there, Blake?
I was gonna say it really annoyed me that they have this like pirates kind of like getaway, and there's not a single race of alien from any of the other 6 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 30 different kinds of aliens in here, and not one of them is from any of the other movies.
That's one of our biggest complaints in general, I think, about these films, that there is no familiarity with any of the species that you see anywhere. Like, it's all new.
And they're so iconic to Star Wars. I mean, you could argue, sure, there's so many races that there doesn't have to be like this, like just come across the same races. But why does that happen in all the other movies then?
Yeah,
exactly. It just disjoints these so much.
Because you could just take a picture of the crowd of aliens and put it next to another, like, let's say like Star Wars aliens or whatever, and you'll never be able to see that they're from the same franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, and with half of these guys, I just wouldn't be able to tell.
Isn't one of these guys Seth Rogen?
Is it really?
One of them is. I think the
Yeah,
big
it is
one.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool.
Seriously?
Seth Rogen's gonna be in Star Wars. Does nothing but sit there as an alien.
Oh man. See, there's so many of these people just like desperate to get in the movie.
Yeah. At least like when they added Bill Burr in The Mandalorian, like they used him for something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sick, Bill Burr. Like,
Yeah, fair
that's
enough.
great, man. And then like, yeah, he had like a cool character. Like, it wasn't like a complete joke either. Like, you know, they made him like a
Like
a
decent character.
Daniel Craig's in this movie too.
What?
Yeah.
A stormtrooper, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the. So in the scene coming up here where Rey's captured and she uses the Force mind trick on one of the stormtroopers, that
Oh,
stormtrooper gets mind tricked is Daniel Craig.
that's hilarious. See, like, it's such. It pisses me off, man.
What's
Like,
funny because he just showed up on set to check it out or whatever, got invited, and then
They're filming Bond in the they're filming
next
Bond
door.
at Pinewood
Okay.
Studios, right next door to where they're filming Star Wars. So they were just like, "Hey, we want to."
Yeah.
Okay.
he just wandered over, was checking it out, and then like offered him to do the bit, so he did it, and then word got out, and he was actually really annoyed because he didn't want anyone to know.
He's like, I had nothing to do with these terrible movies. I
Yeah.
swear.
Because he probably didn't get paid for it.
No,
Yeah, probably not.
So I think this lightsaber thing is kind of another missed opportunity. Because, like,
Oh,
so in this one, you know, she's getting, like, called to the lightsaber.
mhm.
And it, you know, it's had this lightsaber has, like, a pretty, like, you know, powerful legacy, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
And then, like, that doesn't get addressed, like, at all, pretty much. I mean, like, she shows up to Luke. It's like, here's the lightsaber, and he just throws it away. And that's basically like he throws away the rest of the plot, like, to do with that lightsaber. Like, he's just like, nope, not gonna do anything with it. Like,
Yeah,
They're like,
Oh, also,
can we
I don't know
make
if
like
you
an
guys have
interesting?
subtitles on, but
No.
you may want to have subtitles on.
Is it too late?
No, it's just good for moments like where you hear the distant sound effects and everything. It sometimes captions actually who it is.
Yeah, because they're referring to the Obi-Wan line in Yoda and Qui-Gon.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What were you saying before, Reed?
Yeah, but I was just saying, like, basically, like, what Luke does to that lightsaber is what, like, they do with the rest of that lightsaber's, like, connection to the plot or story. Like, because right now, we're getting this, like, cool insight into the, this lightsaber's connection with the Force and stuff. But then, like, yeah, it's just like, poof, gone. Nope, we're not going to try to, like, look more into this cool story or anything. It's just, I don't know, another missed opportunity.
I gotta say, all this Force Vision stuff was like really interesting because I thought there was a lot of, I don't know, I thought it held potential, and then I feel like it didn't really. I don't know. Aside from that one little scene with like the ship flying off and she's left behind, like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they did nothing. Like they could have used this as like a focal point for like a really important plot or something like that, or like some kind of interesting like way to build her character and the other characters and stuff like that. But they really didn't.
Yeah, it's like because like it's what Maz says. Like it's like, oh, this lightsaber was like Luke Skywalker's and his father before him. Doesn't even mention Anakin by name.
Yeah.
And then and you get flashbacks to like the Empire Strikes Back and stuff like that. Like you get like one, and then the rest of the flashbacks kind of have something to do with her. But it's like I don't understand what that flashback was for then for Empire Strikes Back if it has nothing to do with her story at all, right? Like like if there was some sort of reason for that to be there, as far as like this was in the possession of Luke Skywalker for a while because it's was passed down from by Obi-Wan from Anakin because Anakin's the guy who built the lightsaber. I would expect to see something as far as like maybe a duel on Mustafar or what maybe some lava or whatever, anything that kind of points towards like this lightsaber was built by Darth Vader and there's nothing. There was none of that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't even think they bring it up.
Or even the horrible experience of that lightsaber being the one that killed children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And nothing. There was nothing for that. And it's like
that would have bled the crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, like see, and this moment made me think too, like, because there's a lot of speculation when this movie came out, like who she was related to, stuff like that, right? So I was like, oh, she's gonna be the daughter of like Luke or something like that. But it's just like, nope.
Exactly, it led to nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the Battlefront 2 map of this like recreated this very well.
Yeah,
they did great. I mean, not like it was that hard because all we see in the actual movie is like the forest and then like the castle itself. So it wasn't a tough thing to do.
Actually, this is something that kind of bothered me too. So Huck seems super badass and Hitlery, right? Like very Hitlery.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then it's just like from here on out, he's just a joke.
Yeah, he's like the runt to the litter. Like that, like so in this movie, yeah, he like has some importance. Like he literally has so much power that he's confident enough to challenge Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Who is like a Force user, like a Sith apprentice and stuff like that. And then in the rest of the movie, because he's in Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker until he's killed in Rise of Skywalker, and up until the moment he's killed, like he's just kind of like the runt of the litter, pretty much. Like he's just sidelined. Like, there's lots of generals that are superior to him. Like it's a total waste.
And also, like he starts tearing up when this happens, right? Like the fact that they're about to blow up the New Republic, and he starts tearing up for the passion that he has for the First Order. And in the final movie, he ends up turning his back on the First Order just to screw Kylo Ren over.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't
like,
make sense.
dude, like this is
It's
the
so
most
stupid.
loyal guy to the First Order that he's willing to like shed a tear when he sees the New Republic get blown up, and now he's willing to help the Resistance just to screw over his like
Yeah.
the guy who's trying to compete for like the power position.
It's
Like
a
it just,
weird arc for sure.
it's so
Yeah.
strange. Like
Speaking of weird arcs, though, I really did not like what they did with the Resistance and the New Republic in this
oh
movie.
man,
So
it's
we
such a
Yeah.
complicated
No
relationship.
context for
Yeah.
any of this. Like we're watching all these planets get obliterated, and they're like, "Yeah, we're killing the New Republic," but we have no idea what the New Republic is.
It's not mentioned before this. It's just like
Yeah,
throw out a name and watch them all die.
Yeah.
man, I'm supposed to feel
So-
sorry for all these people get murdered. Like, what the heck?
I know, right? And so I heard that there used to be scenes in the movie that actually talked about some of the politics of what's going on.
They took them all out.
And yeah, and JJ got scared because the politics is such a frowned thing from the prequels that he got nervous and took them all out. And now the movie just doesn't make sense from that
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah, there's no political backstory to this movie at all, which is
I thought,
like
I thought
the
when they
worst thing about it.
Yeah, like I thought when they talked about the destroying the New Republic, I was like, whoa, did they blow up like Coruscant or whatever?
That's
Like, is
what I
that
thought.
what?
Yeah, that's what I
It
thought.
looked
That's
like
what I thought.
Coruscant.
It's not even. It's
But
not
they
even
were-
Coruscant. It's some
No,
other
they got
planet.
cold feet and they didn't want to blow up Coruscant, so they made like a duplicate planet.
Yeah,
They made another planet to blow up instead.
A planet looks just like Coruscant.
yeah,
Yeah, tall buildings and everything.
yeah. So
Yeah.
stupid. And so like, yeah, like I hated that like arc that they had with the New Republic in relation to the Resistance and stuff like that. Like there will be another thing I'll talk about later when it comes up that really made me mad, but. See, like even Han
Like,
Solo knows what that
yeah.
lightsaber is.
I'd like to point out that the story that she's referring to has not yet been told.
They're not going to
And-
because
And it's 5 years later.
I don't think they will because it's like next to impossible to explain. It like
Yeah.
fell onto like the ground floor, or like the actual surface of
Yeah, it's like they brought it back for just
it's like
nostalgic reasons. Like that's
Oh, for
it.
sure.
Like,
I'm blanking on the name of the planet, but like below Cloud City.
oh, just the gas cloud, Bespin?
Bespin, yeah. So it landed somewhere on the surface of Bespin, and then somehow someone found it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the gun she's using is like a revolver without the cylinder, basically. And they slapped like it looks like a light on the bottom of it, and then the barrel is like some sort of suppressor.
It kind of looks like it's
attachment, I
like a
guess.
sound recording tool too. Like
Yeah.
something you use on set.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically,
I like how he blows away the whole castle and then walks through the only door that's still standing.
yeah, that's true.
that's pretty great.
Just every wall's missing. It walks through the door frame.
Yeah. I forgot about the stormtrooper that's coming up with the power hammer.
Oh yeah.
that was a good moment. I loved that they had Finn. Yeah, I like that they did the fight scene with Finn between the stormtrooper with the riot stick or whatever. I don't even know what they call that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because that's like the only like other than in Rogue One when we see Donnie Yen's character do melee with his stick and stuff like that. Like that's the only time we see like a non like Force user use a lightsaber, basically.
Yeah.
Just stabs his brother.
Exactly, right? Like, see,
So-
this guy is to me. This guy with the riot rod or whatever is in the right. I'd be pissed too if
I'd like
former
to
brother-
mention there was an entire book that was written just to explain the reason that he drops the blaster in favor of the electro rod.
Seriously.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
so it's called Before the Awakening, and it's split into thirds, and one third was completely about Finn and his training, like before The Force Awakens, and they undergo riot control training or whatever to combat Force wielders, but even though Force wielders are technically no
Gone.
longer
Yeah.
around. They have like a special training to do like melee, like sword combat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so like that guy that was blown away by Chewie's bowcaster was like his rival in the program that just I
Oh.
guess had a beef with him, I guess. And so when this scene comes up, like he recognizes Finn and that's why he's like traitor, and then the moment's over.
Whereas
But
like every other stormtrooper doesn't recognize him at all.
exactly. It was just such a useless like. It was literally to get some use out of the lightsaber, I guess. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I will say though, it was an enjoyable book, like because it filled in some of these plot holes, but it was just so unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of the Star Wars books.
well, no, like that whole like moment that he has with when the guy drops the blaster, like it was so unnecessary for him to do that.
Well, I mean, like to me, it's like, I mean, if they were, brothers or whatever, or
He was
former
just a
like
random
troopers
guy
together.
who just wanted to prove that he was a better combatant.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Like,
I
that's
don't know. To me, I'd
what
be
the
pissed
book
off
is
too,
like.
though, if like a former like trooper like betrayed us and was like, if I was a stormtrooper and one
But
of
then you
our
shoot him
number
in the
betrayed
face.
them.
Then
I
you shoot
guess,
him, right?
but then
you
like
kill him.
I don't know, like they do that in a lot of movies though, where it's like the satisfaction of getting that like close quarters kill where you're like
I guess so,
proving
yeah.
your superiority over that person, right? Like if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess. I don't know. I just thought it was funny that there was like an entire book kind of written around the fact
that is pretty hilarious to me that
kind of
they
prove
did that.
that was a kind of relevant thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay.
Just trying to fix plot holes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, before like we get too far, I like that the X-wings like blast the stormtroopers on either side of like Han Solo and Chewie with just like such incredible precision.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
pretty
like
insane.
that happened.
Yeah,
Like this-
I mean, compared to reality where you can bring airstrikes, they just blow up like the entire area, right?
Yeah. I mean, like they have a hard enough time like hitting TIE fighters, much less like an individual guy on the ground.
That's a good point.
Inside, he's like, she's hot.
Sitting there quivering.
Yeah, he's like checking her out as she's like stuck there.
Yeah.
Flash forward to the final movie where they finally like admit it. They've got a thing going.
Oh man, the Raylo people were so hardcore for so long. No one.
Yeah, they really were. Like, how come the Raylo people get what they want, and then like, all I want is a George Lucas Star Wars movie. Like, you can't even get that. Like,
oh my goodness, Josh.
I can't believe that's the first time I've heard that term Raylo.
Oh really? Yeah, that was a really big thing after this movie came out. People are going nuts, like, "Oh, Raylo."
That's pretty funny.
I don't have anything against it, but it's I don't know. I still would have.
To me, it's just like more wasted time because they give like make Finn's obsessed with Ray or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
A huge.
It was kind of a it's almost like Finn kind of turns into her like gay best friend sort of thing.
It's pretty
And
accurate.
he's always screaming like, "What's up with that?" He's always been like, "Ray!"
Like
He does it a
That's
lot.
his like main line through the whole trilogy.
Yeah, it's like
Finn
it gave his
gets-
catchphrase.
Finn gets friend zoned so hard. Like it's just so sad.
hard. And then
I know.
even things with Rose didn't work out because Rose didn't work out. So
Rose was
you know,
such
they
a
broke him
stupid
up, and
character.
that's
I'm
really-
sorry. Like I don't want to go into that rabbit hole too much right now. Wasted.
yeah.
No
Well, they
purpose.
wasted no time in discarding that relationship. For the
Yeah,
next-
right away they realized how stupid it was.
yeah.
No, what happened was, I think when JJ wrote this, I don't know if he had a plan for Ray to end up with Kylo or with Finn, but he definitely let it open to go either. And then It just seemed like in the next movie, they just threw everything out the window and brought in this other random character they just kind of like brought in.
Yeah.
And then JJ comes back and doesn't like that idea, so he brings back his original plan and just completely erases the middle movie.
Well, there was also a book that took place before the episode 9 came out. It was called Resistance Reborn, and it was basically just catching you up on what the Resistance was doing in like in the year between episode 8 and 9. And there's a moment where Finn has with Poe, I think it was, and he asks Finn about Rose, and then Finn kind of clarifies like, oh, well, we had a moment, but it didn't turn into anything.
Right.
So they kind of did, yeah. And then the movie came out, and then there was like hardly anything between the two of them, and I was like, okay, well, that's gone. But the last movie, like if you just watch the movies, like it just leads you to be like, oh, they're going to become an item, and then you watch the next one.
For sure.
Like, nope, not going to happen.
And so there's no time gap between this one and Last Jedi. Is there any time gap between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, it's a year.
It's 1 year.
I think it's a year, maybe 2 years, but I'm pretty sure it was just like a year.
Okay, because I thought there was some, yeah.
Like the sequel trilogy takes place over a very short amount of time in universe. It's like 2 years worth of events or whatever.
That's very short.
Something like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because of this scene, everyone thought they were going to be gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, your jacket. Yeah. Looks good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it. I like it on you.
Right? Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
Dude, that never even occurred to me. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that was it. The Raylo, and I forget the name. And like,
Kofin.
Right? It doesn't really work.
It doesn't work at all. They both have 3-letter names.
Puffin.
Fippo?
Puffin.
I like Puffin.
You know, a pork has more letters than Finn and
True.
Poe.
Yeah, I'm a Puffin fan.
I'm a Puffin fan. A pin. I'm a pin fan.
You pinhead.
Yeah,
I'm a pinhead.
I'm a pinhead, yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Why would Luke leave this like mystery map?
I know.
I like hide away.
I gotta say, like JJ has the stupidest like in-plot story like attributes to them, right? Like, I mean, it's like the map to Skywalker, the dagger, which turns into be a map to the you know, this or that, or like it's like
standing off. It doesn't work.
He cannot get off the Goonies vibe.
It's very
like,
Goonies, but it doesn't really work.
It doesn't work at all. It's like Star Wars is not a treasure hunt. It's
yeah. It's not a backyard. What do they call those?
No, it's like why would there be a map to Skywalker? Like we're talking about Luke Skywalker here. Like
what do they call those little hunts or whatever that you do? Like I can't remember. What's that?
Treasure hunt?
No, not treasure hunt. There's another
Easter egg hunt.
Scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt. There we go.
Scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Because
gotta find this thing.
Ray's a scavenger.
Next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like the explanation that there's like a map like of coordinates that leads to okay, so like for example, Attack of the Clones nailed this on the head. It's like there's a planet out there, it exists, but the archives are incomplete because somebody erased the archives, and now we have to find, you know, it's like, oh, put 2 and 2 together, let's just go to where the planet is supposed to be, and oh look, there's a planet there, right? So it's like it would make more sense if it was like a piece of data that had coordinates on it to which turns out it's not actually a map to Skywalker because apparently, why would Luke Skywalker leave a map? It's like apparently this is a map to Act Two,
like a Jedi temple or something.
Yeah, that's what the map is for, right? But it's just like, it just, they didn't really explain it very well as to why there's a map to specifically Luke Skywalker. Like,
is that what it was supposed to be? It was supposed to be like some Jedi temple, and then Luke like erased it or something.
It's supposed to be, that's the map to like Acto, I guess. But I guess like, so what happened is apparently, and the magic piece of the puzzle, which R2D2 has in the end of the movie, is supposedly taken from the archives of the Empire from when they went onto the Death Star in Episode 4 and rescued Leia, and R2 plugged into the wall and did his thing, right?
Yeah.
So apparently that's why he has that part of the map. Why there's a piece like of the rest of the map that exists on like a little hollow flash drive that this old guy Lorson Tekka has that somehow mysteriously has a section missing. I don't understand why it wouldn't be in one place. Like, I don't understand why. Do you know what I mean? Like I just like, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, why would Luke bother to leave this thing in the first place if his whole plan was just run away and hide?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm like, why wouldn't he just bring R2 with him?
That too.
Like, I mean, like R2's his pal, his buddy, and like, I mean, and R2 sits there depressed, sitting under a cloak all day, like just, doing nothing. Like it's like, why wouldn't he bring him with him? Because in that flashback scene where we see him kneeling by the fire and his Jedi temple's burning up on flames, like he lays a hand on R2D2. Like even R2D2 is there in his worst moment.
Yep,
it's like,
true.
why wouldn't he bring R2D2 to Acto? Like, I just don't understand.
The only excuse I could think of is he had to leave in such a situation where he had no choice but to leave R2 behind.
Well,
but
and then
it doesn't really have that kind of vibe when you're there. Like, it doesn't feel like he got there out of a last resort. It was like he chose to go of his free will.
Yeah, and who recovered R2 when Luke just packed up and left his droid there? Like, that's such a, I don't know, like it's just such a like inconsistent story. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so many
awkward. If you come straight from the original trilogy into this, it does feel very out of place because they're separate, honestly.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, he's the only character or friend that he brought with him to Dagobah, right? Like, he didn't have to take R2, but he did.
Exactly.
Like, they went through everything together since Tatooine.
Yep. Yeah,
R2.
R2D2. Yeah.
See, this would be like a great meme for the relationship between Disney and like Star Wars fans. Like, Disney's just like, you're going to accept what?
Give us the money.
Yes,
you're going to give us
money.
Dang it! And we're like,
Give us the money.
no,
Give us the money.
no.
And then
You will like
Last
the last
Jedi comes out.
Jedi.
Fans turn on Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the turning moment right here.
Pretty much.
And Disney starts to realize that their money, their profits are dwindling.
And like Disney tried to use SJWs, and we're like, no, that's too.
It's too much.
It's impossible. Shoot it or something.
Adam Driver's performance in the next movie is so much better.
Agreed.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
So much, like heights better.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, so it is a little weird seeing him being a little lackluster.
Yeah.
yeah. I think this was the first time I'd ever seen Adam Driver in a movie. Like, since this one, I've seen him in some movies
Yeah.
that are pretty good. Like Logan Lucky, that was a good one.
Black Klansman.
I haven't seen that one yet,
Dude, you should watch that. That's an awesome movie.
but yeah.
So great. So this is Daniel Craig right here.
Yeah.
Surprised the dude fit in that stormtrooper armor. I mean, he's pretty ripped.
Take a closer look and be like bulging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah.
It's like FN 007.
Yeah, honestly, they should have.
Yeah, you can still hear him.
Oh yeah. Like now that you told me, I know 100%.
Yeah.
As cool that as this is, that it's like Daniel Craig, I still hated this moment so much.
Mm.
My
Like it
only,
totally ruined it for me. Like that she was able to like use the force like so quickly out of
Like
nowhere.
so easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me. I don't care what her lineage is. Like nobody should be able to do that in Star Wars.
No. Yeah.
it does make her
totally.
very Mary Sue-ish. We'll say that.
Like, I mean, Luke Skywalker is the son of the chosen one, and he had to travel all over the galaxy just to learn how to do half the stuff that we see him do.
It took him like months to move a noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they could have made. That's what annoyed me about the next movie too. I don't want to dive into it too much, but they wasted like that whole training opportunity, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. They could have really done something with that. I mean, you can tell they kind of tried very like half-heartedly in the next two movies, but
I gotta say, I do like the name of Starkiller Base reflects what it does very well.
Yeah, all right. That other guy called it for us.
Listen to his tone of voice. Listen to his tone of voice. And this is Starkiller Base. Oh man, that's like he should have said magnitude right there.
yeah, agreed.
Missed opportunity.
Dude, yeah.
Come on,
How is it possible to build a weapon of that magnitude?
What's that species called again?
Mon Calamari.
Mon
Yeah.
Calamari. Dude,
Yeah.
that's my favorite Star Wars species. The freaking
they're awesome.
shrimp heads.
Squid people.
Yeah, the squid.
So good.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I used to really hate Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
And then I started liking it a little more once they kind of clarified in Jedi Fallen Order that it's Ilum.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
So if you played through the whole campaign of Jedi Fallen Order, spoilers for anyone who hasn't, then you'll know that the Empire was actually the one responsible for digging out this massive trench and using the fact that this planet has kyber crystals on it to its advantage, and like literally forging a weapon out of it.
That's pretty cool. Do they just like gather all of them, and put them together, or like is it just natural through the planets? Like
I think it's just natural through the planet. And then they I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the science behind it. All I know is that it was an Imperial project that I guess the First Order like finished.
okay.
Yeah.
Also, that's one thing that with Palpatine actually does make a little more sense for once.
Yeah.
Is people are always wondering where did the First Order get all this money and resources, and it didn't make any sense until you realize, oh, it's just the Empire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something they didn't put into context very well in this movie. I think they like get into it a little bit in the next one, maybe, but they still don't.
Sort of. They allude to them making all of their money from like a casino. which
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense
Even that,
either.
oh, we just happen to have this giant
Yeah,
tons of
yeah.
ships.
Make their money
It's
from
like-
Yeah.
Because I think you see, like, I can't remember. I think it's the next one in Last Jedi. Like, you see like a map, and they show you, like, oh yeah, we're taking over all these places in the galaxy. Well, you have no concept of that scale at all throughout any of the movies. So this part,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
that
so
was actually
stupid.
part of the politics in this movie that they cut out. You find
Yeah.
out that the First Order and the New Republic both are in control of roughly 50% of the galaxy, and they've just kind of had like this undeclared kind of truce between them up until this point,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they just cut all that out.
yeah. Yeah.
I feel like every other landing of the Falcon is basically the same as this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason its landing gear just skids.
It's like screw the horse.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
Save his friend.
just so selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was just so funny. Like,
I don't care if another 8 planets die. I got to save my one friend.
Yeah.
yeah. But literally like one of 2 friends that he's got right now.
Yeah. Such a great moment. Honestly, though, I kind of feel like I'm Han Solo and then Finn is Disney. They're like, yeah, we're going to make you a great movie. It's going to be awesome. I'm like, okay, so how are you going to do it? And then they tell me, I'm like, what? That's not how this works.
Yeah. It's like we're gonna plan that. We're gonna do the sequels without planning out the trilogy first. Like, what? That's not how this
it works.
We're just going to figure out as we go.
Yeah.
You know, I am glad that they made use of her scavenger skill here.
Yeah.
And they did again in Rise of Skywalker, but I think it was completely ignored in the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think that's a Ryan Johnson thing.
Do it.
Do it.
Ah. I wish they never brought her character back. Like, I don't know. it was such a wasted experience, like having her in the next movie again. And I was like, oh, they brought her back. It must be for some special reason. But no, it was just to just kill her off again.
Yeah.
We need a character to kill off that's in charge. Who's available? Well, we got this character that never actually saw like death like firsthand. It's like, well, we could probably bring her back.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so this moment is one of the other kind of like plot points related to like the Resistance and the New Republic that bothered me, because they call all these ships that the Resistance has the Resistance fleet, even though it's not their like. It's so stupid because it's not their fleet. This is like a one or two squadrons of like fighters that they have. Like fleets are like groups of the large ships, right? But they keep saying like, oh, this is like, you know, the Resistance fleet. Oh no, we've lost half our fleet. We can't take it anymore. But it's not their freaking fleet. Like it bothers me so much because they do that throughout all these movies. They keep calling it their fleet, but it's not their freaking fleet. It's like the biggest, like, it's sorry.
I gotta say it was a big missed opportunity having Nine Numb in there. I think that's Nine Numb, like in the X-wing, or maybe at least someone from the same species. Yeah, and just having like anytime they had them on like the intercom, just having them go.
Just every time they're near the camera.
Yeah.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right. Green 7 checking in. Green 5 checking in. That would have been a good joke.
That would have been great.
That would be pretty funny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just every time.
Every time.
Your ship just flies by the chair.
It's like, nice shot, Nine Numb. Like,
This is so good.
Man, we gotta make a fan edit.
That'd be pretty good.
I'd watch that, man. That'd be great.
It's a plan. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you can't explain it. I bet I wouldn't believe it. It's like, hey, Dizzy, how does Ray use the Force? Well, I can't explain it, and you wouldn't believe it even if I could. No, I wouldn't.
It's a story for another time.
That chubby guy there with the beard, that's J.J. Abrams' best friend from his childhood.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that guy, his character's name is Snap Wexley.
Yep.
And it's also known as Temmin Wexley, who is the main kid character in the Aftermath trilogy books.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I'd like to say it took an entire trilogy of books to kind of build his character up, only to just have him as like this kind of
background character. Yeah.
Backgroundy character. And then in the final movie, he actually gets killed off. He gets like, like he's like the one X-wing pilot that has like a dramatic death, and Poe is like the only one. He looks out the window. He's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yes. Like in the movie.
Josh has like a checklist, and you see him take out a pen.
Yeah, it's like one of the few things I got checked off. Like, have JJ's best buddy just get killed off in the movies.
Yeah, I mean, he died on screen, so you got to give him that much.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than we can give Phasma.
That is true.
You don't really see Chewbacca's hands that much, do you? But then in that scene, that's a pretty good close-up of his hands.
Yeah. You see like these like black nubs.
Yeah, they're just like rubber gloves. Yeah. Like molded in fingernails and stuff.
Yeah, you don't really see them at all in the original trilogy.
Yeah, he's got too much fur.
Yeah.
I gotta say, in some shots when I see like Ben Solo or Kylo Ren like just standing there, and if it's the right angle, all I can see is wide chest Kylo.
Yeah, it's super funny. Like,
Yeah,
it looks so goofy.
yeah, it does.
Brolo.
That one video that they did with like a fake, like I got wide.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, Kylo Ren workout.
oh man, it's so
Ben
freaking
Swallow.
awesome.
That's what it is. Ben Swallow.
Yeah, Ben Solo. Yeah. It's
That's
awesome. It's pretty hard to get Chewbacca to look worried, but they did a really good job there, like making Chewbacca look concerned.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to pull off.
Nope. When I watched this for the first time, though, I instantly knew what was going to happen. I was like, oh,
yeah.
he's going to die. I don't know if you guys had that feeling too when you first saw this, but
I mean, it's the moment he's been waiting for his
Yeah, it's true.
entire franchise. Like,
Since Return of the Jedi.
yeah.
it's like Han Solo's basically talking to Disney right now. You told me I'd be done. You told me this would be over.
Yeah.
I just need a little help.
He just got Qui-Goned.
Yeah. Exactly. You know what's crazy is like I know people who don't like this movie purely based on that one moment.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Han Solo is a lot of people's favorite character of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, how can you enjoy something when it destroys that which you love?
Yeah, exactly.
If only Disney knew that one fatal flaw.
I know we always make fun of the what's that called? What he does to his gut that where he gets shot, like in his.
Oh,
in
he's
his
punching it. He's like
Yeah.
punching it to make himself more pissed off or whatever.
I know Bryce always makes fun of it.
Yeah.
There's actually like a term that he told us at one point that he described it to be.
Okay.
I forget what it was called now.
Yeah, I think my brother told me about it. I don't.
It was a funny, yeah. And then I thought he was joking, but he was actually like somewhat legit. I think there was something online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like punching his wound.
Yeah, it's like to get more angry.
Yeah. Well, it's like a Sith thing, which makes sense, but it's still really funny. Could you imagine Darth Vader like punching himself in the face to get angrier? Like, it just looks weird.
It just looks.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Can you imagine? Freaking like
Kids before they fight, like high school, and like punching themselves. It's like a form of peacocking.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
It's
man,
like, who can punch themselves harder in the gut?
yeah. So it was actually something that I read recently that I thought was actually a really good point. Apparently, a lot of like African Americans that are fans of this franchise, they felt really betrayed by this because Disney just like hardcore alluded to Finn being a Jedi.
Yeah, they did. They even
Like-
promoted him to be
Yeah.
like, on the posters and everything.
They did, and honestly, I would have preferred if Finn was the Jedi and Rey was just like a pilot mechanic person. But
Yeah,
they totally like alluded to Finn being like this cool badass Jedi, and then when the movie came out, they just like that pulled the rug out from under them.
they
Pretty
did.
much.
Yeah, and
Like,
I know John Boyega's pretty upset about that too. I think,
yeah, I believe it.
and he's actually come on to record and actually he's shared that a lot of people did feel that way that
Yeah.
Finn was should have been a Jedi of some kind and
I think
just
so,
ended
too.
up being discarded. Like in the next movie, he's like
It's not
hard to
utilized.
He's pretty much the Jedi that Rey should have been, like like unskilled,
Skill level.
talent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
This I got really angry about.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't like any of it. See, like I was okay with like the fighting with the lightsabers itself. I was okay with because it's so like unskilled, like the fighting that they do with each other. Like it was
Yeah.
cool. It was believable. I was like, yeah, they're like rookies. They're unskilled. They don't know how to fight with lightsabers. Like, yeah, like makes sense that they would be doing it like this. But
But the
yeah,
force
her
power
force
is
use was stupid.
yeah. We see she does a lot of stabs, right? It's the same as Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think she doesn't know what she's doing. I think that's why she's doing them, though. I don't know if that has like.
She doesn't know what she's doing, but it's in her blood. The helmet looked way too big for that guy.
Yeah, his
He's shaking around.
sticking out.
Yeah.
Trench run.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of. Do you remember?
Dude, yeah. Oh, I'm hit. Oh no.
Darth Vader's tie just like comes in behind them.
Dude,
Yeah.
rips up the whole franchise right there, blasts all these guys, goes over, shoots Rey and Poe, blows up the Millennium Falcon.
Right?
Like, why do they need to fly through a trench? Like, there's no need for it.
They don't. They like
That's the
J.J.
thing.
Abrams
Like,
is just that uncreative.
like they could just fly down and in through that crack. Like, it's.
Well, you could argue the same thing for the trench run A New Hope. They could just fly in right before the exhaust port.
That's true.
I guess so, unless I don't know. I mean, unless the rest of the Death Star is just too heavily fortified with like cannons or whatever. But
That would make sense. The other thing was the talk when you need the Nava computers, they have to be like a straight shot on, but or not the Nava
Right,
computer,
yeah.
the targeting computer. You have to admit, though, this movie is beautiful.
Oh yeah, it was like visually,
it's awesome,
it was stunning. Like it was a great movie.
It's like, just the cinematography, all the lighting, sets, it's fantastic.
Like this
Yeah,
so
fight
well
scene
done.
was great, fantastic. This is
love
like
it.
my
With the
favorite part of
snow,
the movie.
so cool.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, it was something new, like a lightsaber duel in snow was pretty awesome. Like, it was something I think that JJ always wanted from the beginning. Like when he wanted, like when he,
I think there was leaked artwork about it.
yeah.
Run!
He's like related to Schwarzenegger now. Like,
Right?
Join me in the dark side of the force. Do it now.
Do it!
Do it. Feel the power of the dark side of the
he does
force.
it again.
I need you close your boots in your starship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thus we have the migrating scar.
Oh man, this scar was so goofy looking. I'm really glad that Ryan Johnson like changed where it was.
Agreed. It does look weird. I don't know why they did it like that. It just looks strange.
Yeah.
Doesn't make his character any more intimidating.
No, it looks really goofy.
All the First Order, like I think Bryce pointed this out at one point.
Mhm.
All the First Order, like officers, they're always so angry. Like they're
Yeah,
always so
they
like,
are.
pissed off at something. And like
Yeah.
all the Imperial officers are more like actual Nazis, but these
Professional.
guys are just like people in costumes, just like getting steamed at stuff. Like
Ah!
Yeah,
They're
it's true.
what SJWs
It's a
think
huge
Nazis
difference.
yeah.
Maybe they were given for reference that World War II movie where like Hitler's in that room and he's with all.
Oh yeah.
It's just, like, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's your character, guys. Go with it.
Yeah, every single one
Dude,
of them.
honestly, for all these movies, like their focus groups were just SJWs. They pulled out a protest, and they were like, "How should Nazis look like in space?" And they were like, they're angry and they hate everybody, and they're just they're angry, stupid.
Yeah.
And they're all white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what?
yeah. And before you say your line, beat yourself on the stomach a few times. Like,
Yeah, just like,
just
Yeah.
male dominance.
You know, I have to say, the coolest part of this viewing for me is now knowing that that's Ilum.
yeah, I know, right? Like, it literally
Like-
makes Starkiller Base so much more tolerable.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet because, like, now I realize, like, that's where those Jedi younglings went to get their crystals to make their lightsabers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a snowy planet, so it makes a lot of sense. Did they retcon that in later, or was that always the plan?
That was retconned in later.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
It's convenient, it works.
No, of course, JJ would not be the
That's
one
what I
to
was
do
thinking.
this.
JJ would
no.
have no idea that that's.
No, yeah. Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
there's a cartoon?
What? There's a planet full of kyber crystals? Let's blow it up.
Yeah, I love how from this scene everyone got mad when Chewie walks past Leia. I'm like,
Just like
Like, lifelong friend dead. You know, it just walks right past her.
yeah,
dude,
right.
dude is how many centuries old at this point? And he's like, I don't need to mourn with her. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm already over it.
standing over there, like
Yeah. Yeah.
no one cares.
It sounds like George.
He's like, they probably told him, they're like, you know what, man, we need a girl moment. Okay, you're out of the picture, Chewie. He's like, okay.
And R2 shows up with 17 minutes left.
Yeah.
You'd think someone would have ripped R2 apart at this point, like to try to,
Yeah?
get
Use
into
them for
our-
parts.
or just even like, because if they knew he was Luke's like astro droid, like, hey, he's an asteroid droid for ships and stuff that fly around in space. Maybe we should tear it apart. Maybe it'll have a record of where he is.
Wait a minute.
Like,
So-
look at this. Look at this. R2 has like a map of the galaxy that he supposedly got from the Death Star. Like, I don't understand why there's a massive chunk missing. Like,
It is weird.
it's
Yeah.
so like forced.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, so they had BB-8's map, but they're like, oh, we don't know the rest of it. But there's planets there, so couldn't they just look up what planet that is and look at any other map?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just cross-referencing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing.
No, this is the only map in the entire Star Wars galaxy.
It's like, man, they've been living under a rock too long. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lando.
They should have just carried through with that relationship. Like, they just made it such an awkward like,
Yeah.
gay friend
Yeah.
moment.
It made
Like,
sense. Like, if they
It
would have
makes more
stuck
sense,
to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I think it would have went that way if JJ did all three. But Ryan Johnson just made it such a thing with that Force connection, right? It's kind of like you almost
Right.
couldn't not do it at that point. So, Raylo.
I mean, here's the other thing: is we've watched an entire movie in which Poe and Rey don't exchange any words at all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
Like, that
really
was-
weird.
That was one
Yeah.
thing that was like a huge sore thumb because the three of them were marked as like the new trio,
Generation.
right? Like,
Yeah.
the new,
Yeah.
like Finn, Poe, and Rey. Like, I mean, people say that Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin aren't a good trio, but arguably they're significantly better because, like, for the entire first movie here, the three of them never interact as a trio at all until the final movie of the trilogy. Like, it's
Yeah.
only the last like scene in The Last Jedi where Poe and Rey meet on the Millennium Falcon as they're exiting Crate, and they
Yeah.
meet first time, and that's where they exchange pleasantries. and it's like,
it felt
dude,
awkward because it was so late.
it took 2 movies
Yeah.
to bring two of members of that trio together, and it's like
That's where I think they really
insane.
flopped. They did horribly with all 3 of like the trio of new characters in Last Jedi. Like in this movie, they didn't do that great either. Like I think that was one of the big like flop points of the franchise to me, is just how poorly they developed these characters. Because like at least in this one, like they sort of build them up, so it's like, okay, there's room for like more improvement and like more to happen and stuff like that. And then in Last Jedi, they just tank so hard. Like I don't want to dive into that till we watch that movie, but like it's just such a like it was just so wasted, because they're like, oh, we got like the new generation, and they just crapped all over them. Like
it's funny that you mentioned that about the character development, because I've heard a lot of people like like their reason for one of the reasons for them to like these movies a lot is it compared to like the prequels, so to say, is the character development over the course of the films. But yeah, like I mean, I'm kind of like on your side of the fence, where it's like I don't really see that much character development in most of the characters aside from Ben Solo.
exactly,
Like,
yeah. Ben is the one that has.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben is the one that has like consistent development throughout all 3 movies. To like,
Yeah.
but
I totally agree with that.
But for me,
at least.
yeah, like for me, like Finn and Poe and Rey, like they have some development in this movie, like enough that they could like pick up with it
Start up,
stronger like in the next one. But like they crapped so hard on like Poe and Finn's characters in the next movie. It was awful. Like they totally flushed it down the toilet to square one.
Well, it's like the arc just kind of fell apart. It's
It
like
really did.
Yeah, I can see that. 'Cause,
Their
like,
individual character arcs fell apart.
Yeah, like
I mean,
I'll probably go on like a tangent when we're watching the next movie about how like absolutely how they basically just raped their character development in Last Jedi.
Right.
But
Yeah.
well, Poe never really had much character really in this movie at all. I mean, he flies ships, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But
I think that's
Finn-
why, like,
Finn had
in the-
development.
In the
Yes.
interview for Rise of Skywalker, when he was asked if he was coming back to play his character, he was like, "Nope."
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, he was really straight up about it. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
it was kind of turned into a meme online.
When was this recorded? Like
It was promotional interviews for Rise of Skywalker.
for Rise of Skywalker.
sorry, who said no?
That was Oscar Isaac and
Yeah,
it was actually Oscar Isaac and John Boyega, and they were asked. They were both asked at the same time, like, so will you guys ever be returning as your characters in future Star Wars movies? They both looked at each other like, nope.
wow.
Nah.
Well, it just shows you, like, I wouldn't want to.
I mean, if it was
Stuck
like
like that.
somebody who had least interest, if they had any interest in their own character at all, they would be like, "Oh, it would be great to return as the character if the opportunity ever came up." Right?
The story made sense.
Anything like that, not just nope. Like that was all they said. Nope.
Yeah, you could tell then at that point they're just done with it and they just don't want anything else to do with it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They're just so done with these movies. But I mean, and also like one more thing about like the ending of this film. I know that's one of your favorite John Williams tracks there at the end, Blake.
It is a good one. I really like both. Actually, I really like Ray's theme, which is the thing's playing right now, and I really like the theme. Yeah, when they're right at the ending and she's going up the staircase.
It's probably like the only prominent like theme aside from the Resistance
I was
theme.
gonna say the Resistance theme as well.
The Resistance March or whatever it's called. Those, and you know what? Actually, Kylo Ren's theme actually is not bad, but I mean, it's like the First Order March or whatever it is. But I don't know. Aside from that, most of the other music is not that memorable. I don't know. It's just almost like.
And what's interesting is watching the other movies prior to this one, going directly into it, the music does have a different kind of feel. Even though it's John Williams all the way through, but maybe it's just because it's more modern and John Williams he's done a million themes and it's been a long time since.
Subtle.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a lot more subtle. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. And that's something I didn't like about it. I was like, I want it to slap me in the face. Like the Star Wars music is some of the best film music in history. Like I want there to be a theme that just hits me across the face, with like a giant like Duel of Fates, like that movie came out. That song is so freaking iconic.
It's so good.
And yeah, and even though a lot of people don't like the movie, like there's still so many people who are like, "Oh yeah, that's Duel of Fates." Like they
recognize it immediately. It's so iconic.
You recognize it anywhere. Yeah, and like and then episode 4 being the first of that trilogy was like the Binary Sunset is like the biggest theme out of that movie, and that in itself is so iconic enough that it became the theme that echoes through all the movies. So when it came down to like this movie, I was like, what like this is the one that's going to kick off the trilogy. What theme is going to ring through the whole trilogy that's really going to get me amped? And even though those songs that you pointed out are really good, they just don't slap me in the face like all the other ones did.
No, it's not. It is less in your face. And I think a part of that is there's not nearly as many horns. Whereas the other songs, there's a lot of like, like horns and stuff.
Yeah,
like what we're hearing right now, these are horns. But the main themes in this, it's more like cellos and violins and stuff. Like it's really like more like classic orchestral, like Beethoven almost sort of. I feel like way more subtle.
Yeah, and I think Reed, you mentioned something about the music as well, saying that it wasn't your favorite. At one point, you said that.
Oh, about this movie?
About just these 3 movies in general.
Yeah, like it just wasn't memorable. Like I mean, like I kind of can like pick up on like, Ray's theme and stuff like that, but that's about it. It's not like that integral. Like it doesn't like set the mood very well, or the tone, I guess, because like that's what was so cool about like the original trilogy and even the prequels and stuff like that, is that like what it was very like theatrical and like bombastic, because like with the scenes, like any Empire scene, right? Like not only do they look intimidating, but they have the music to back them up, whereas in these movies I don't feel like they really did that well.
How did you guys feel when you first walked out of this movie in the movie theater?
Just kind of meh.
I was excited. I mean, I had so much writing up to this movie that I don't think I could have disliked it, because it was more Star Wars, right? So it was definitely.
That's the way I felt going into the movie, and then when I came out of the movie, I just felt very empty, like very like almost like I watched a shell of a Star Wars movie. Like it had the Star Wars skin, but it didn't have the same heart that Star Wars should have.
Yeah. So like when I watched this movie, I was kind of like, oh, this is okay. Like I didn't like, of all the news movies, like I don't really like hate it that much. But then at the same time, like when I walked out of that movie, like I knew right away, like this was the beginning of the end, because I was like, there's so much. Because like I thought about it, I was like, okay, so what do they have to do with the next movie to make me really like it? And I was like, okay, they got to either do something that I haven't thought of that's gonna like totally throw it like out of the park, like they're gonna do an amazing job or something like that, or it's just going to, because there was so many gaps for them to fill in, and so many like things that they needed to do that they didn't do in this movie, right? Like just like we were talking about with like character development, there's so many things they needed to do with character development to make the characters more interesting, more compelling, and for them to pick up like and like carry the weight, like them being the new generation and stuff. I knew right away. I was like, okay, well, I would love to, I hope that they do all this stuff in the next movie, but I just don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, I do recall the very first time I saw it, I was so enamored by Han Solo being killed, because I wasn't like now looking back, like it seems obvious, but the first time I can't believe they actually did it. And I remember being kind of in shock, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, like you can't really like think about anything. Like you just kind of feel numb. Yeah. I remember I did feel that for at least till like the end of the, and even going into the coffee shop or the pub or whatever it was, and talking about it afterwards, I still was just like baffled.
Yeah.
Like for me,
Yeah.
I wasn't that shocked because I went into the movie and I was like, okay, they're gonna kill off someone from the old cast. I don't know who's gonna be. Could
Oh,
be
you
Luke.
expected that, hey?
I expected it 100%. Like
Really?
I knew just
Why?
like
What told you they're gonna kill off one of these cash cows?
because like the direction they were trying to push it, right? Because I mean that was their whole thing from the get-go with this whole new cast of characters was that like, oh yeah, this is the next generation. Like these guys are the new ones that are going to come in and they're going to be like the future of the franchise. So I knew like 100% that somebody was going to die. I had no idea who it was going to be. I mean, I know Harrison Ford had his history
Yeah.
of like not wanting to be in the movies anymore and stuff like that. But I knew 100% going into the movie, I was like, someone is going to die. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be someone. Because it's just like it's too much. Like I think I mentioned earlier, like having that many like huge characters, like because they have like the original the OG team, like Leia, Han, Chewie, and Luke, and then they've got the new generation team, with Poe and Finn and Ray and BB BB-8 or whatever. And so like I already mentioned earlier, like they uh like had a hard time fitting a lot of stuff in, like with R2D2
Yeah.
and C-3PO, because there's just like they're like
There's almost
they're
like no
trying.
room for them when they're trying to push the new characters. Yeah.
Yeah, because like they already have like holes like with character development with the new cast of characters, because on top of trying to develop the new characters, make them fun and interesting and stuff like that, they've got all the old characters that they still need to like give cadence to and stuff. I mean, it's funny because at like the end of the day, with like Luke's character, they've just basically like they didn't fit him into the movie at all to the very end.
They
They're like
didn't.
he was
That really
basically a
bothered me.
cameo, and that was one of the things that bothered me too. Like because like yeah, like they just dropped the ball with that, like anything happening with his character, which was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I know that bothered me quite a bit. I was really disappointed to find out Luke was like 5 seconds before the credits.
Yeah.
I was just thinking though, while you were explaining why you saw it coming, it did dawn on me that if you look at both Phantom Menace and A New Hope, there is the one like wise character who does die, right? Who's like,
Yeah.
because it's part of the
The mentor dies.
the mentor, yeah, because it's kind of just like
Yeah.
the classic storytelling, right?
Yeah, I guess that there is some sort of parallel there.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, oh sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh no, you can continue. It's fine.
I was going to say, like, and that's what George based the entire franchise off of, was that classic trope storytelling. And that big part of that is the main character finds someone who can teach them, the mentor, and the mentor dies before the main character is fully trained and they're forced to go off, which is what you get with Anakin, with Qui-Gon, and then again with Luke and Obi-Wan. But I guess because we've kind of been numb to that, and it's a little bit different because we weren't as attached. So like if the movies came out in release order, by the time we got to New Hope, if Obi-Wan, this guy from the prequels that we've known for forever and we love him, he's one of our favorite characters, if he died then in New Hope, if we saw it in that order, I think people would have been just as bothered as they were with
Yeah.
Han Solo. But because it was released differently, doesn't have that same kind of emotional connection. So I could see why people are more pissed off about it now.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I mean, like it's true what you said about Han Solo being one of most people's favorite characters. He is the only character out of a lot of these legacy characters that got his own movie.
True.
Yeah.
So like it is still shocking that I think like they went with that decision, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing for me about this movie, like the way that it ends, is like I think JJ is 100% to blame for like the state that Luke Skywalker is in The Last Jedi. Like they spent the entire movie like trying to find Luke Skywalker, and it's like it's like, okay, whatever. They're trying to find Luke Skywalker, like, but like, why did Luke run away in the first place? He must have a pretty good reason. And so,
Yeah,
like, when it came down to like Last Jedi, it's like a lot of people blame Ryan Johnston for, I guess, the state of mind that Luke was in. But to me, like for Luke Skywalker to be on an island in the middle of nowhere on a planet that is off most databases, like where you have to find a treasure map to basically find. I just, to me, it actually made sense. I'm like, this guy must be so upset about something that he just runs away and like doesn't want to be found. Like, of course he's going to be in that state of mind. Like, I don't know what else he would be doing there for, unless he's on some very prolonged Jedi mission, which ended up going wrong. And now he's like stuck somewhere, but he's just chilling there, looking sad on the edge of a cliff, looking like he's going to jump. Yeah. And then Rey comes up with the lightsaber. He's in tears, turns around, takes off the hood, looks even more sad when he sees the lightsaber. And then
he was going to jump.
I mean, that's what I think when I see.
Okay, so that wasn't written. Like,
also
a moment before Luke Skywalker, the most hearty character in the entire franchise, if not any franchise, was about to commit suicide.
Yeah, well, that's just it, and a lot of people are like, okay, Rian Johnson's to blame for depressing sad Luke, but I honestly think it's J.J. Abrams' like setup that led to that decision being made, and because where do you go from that, right? Like I don't see where else it would have gone from that ending off that movie, looking the way he did, and also like he's in his like traditional kind of Jedi garb, robes and everything like that, and then
he did have that.
Yeah, and then the Last Jedi, he's in the stuff, and then the next time you see him, he goes into his hut and he actually changes into his like normal wear, like his like daily things, and so a lot of
people make it really weird why he was wearing his like
his
like dress robes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like, because he doesn't want to be a Jedi anymore. Like he's done with the Force. He's cut himself off. Like, why was he wearing his traditional Jedi robes in that moment? Like a lot of people are thinking, well, at least from what I've read online, and I tend to kind of side with them on this, is like a lot of people are like, you know what, maybe he was just, gonna make a moment out of it and become one with the Force, right? Like it, just dress in his Jedi robes and, freaking fly off the edge kind of thing. So
that's super dark.
Yeah,
wow,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at the guy who almost killed his own nephew. So I mean, like it is a pretty drastic change of from what we've seen in the last trilogy of films. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to go back to like Empire Strikes Back, and it came up even when we were watching that movie that like Luke does have. Like, I think, Reed, you brought this up, that Luke does have this habit to get very discouraged a lot
Debbie
of the time.
Downer.
True.
Yeah.
Most of the movie.
And
we talked about in the original trilogy.
Yeah, so I don't actually think that it's out of character for
Not
him.
terribly far, but it's funny because the trilogy was more or less about him kind of getting over that. And then it's just like, oh, he never did.
Yeah. It's almost like it took 29 years, but eventually he kind of sulked back to his old ways, I guess. But I guess like back then, I guess he had people like Yoda and Obi-Wan and stuff pointing the way for him and putting him back on the path that he started. And now that Luke is the master, like at this point in time, like I don't know, maybe it's just Yoda and Obi-Wan's choice not to show up as a Force ghost, or let alone missed opportunity through this entire trilogy, by the way, to not have Anakin Skywalker be talking to his son, right? Like this to me was what I thought, like before The Force Awakens came out, when they announced the sequels, I'm like, this is awesome. We're going to have Mark Hamill chatting to like Anakin Skywalker, and we're going to have like Ewan McGregor in there, maybe even Liam Neeson. Like,
that'd be cool. Yeah. Like a Force Ghost Council.
The whole trilogy has had so many missed opportunities. And I think like if George had his way with this trilogy, we would have had that stuff. Like we would have had, that payoff of the head swap that he made all the way back in 2005 or 2004 or whatever it was.
That's
like
true. It's almost like he was alluding to it.
Yeah, like we would have had all this paid off in these films, and like the most we got out of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars was what in the sequels was like 2 lines to voiceovers in the final film. Like I'm thankful that they even put it in, but I mean it was clouded around all this other stuff. Like we didn't even get to see the guy. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know this. So to go back to like how I was feeling after I watched this film, it was a very empty feeling inside because I expected so much more from, I guess, based on what we had, and I guess what George Lucas was setting up, and then what we got was very, very different from what I thought it could be. So yeah, but anyway, I mean, I guess that went all right. Could have gone better, but
I mean,
anyway.
at this point, like, I just kind of feel indifferent about it. Like,
you're feeling different about the movie?
Indifferent. Like, it's there and it's a movie.
Yeah,
I definitely don't feel the attachment that I feel to the other 6.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as time has gone by, like, have you guys kind of liked it less and less?
I honestly, I like it about as much as like this movie specifically. I like it about as much as like when I first walked out of that theater. Like just kind of like like visually great movie, like awesome like visual Star Wars movie and stuff, like cool Star Wars movie, but just wasn't original. Like it, like that's what I knew day one. I was like, oh cool, like Death Star like 3.0, cool beans. All right. And then like I was saying earlier, right? Like I knew the moment I walked out of that movie, like that there was too much that they needed to make up for, and so I knew like they weren't going to be able to carry that torch over properly. Like a lot of like they just dropped the ball like hardcore in the next movie.
Nope, that's fair.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, I liked it, and then as time went by and I thought about it more, I got kind of annoyed by it. And the more I learned about the film itself, the more annoyed I got. And I've just kind of been numb to that, I think, since then. So I just kind of feel indifferent about it, to be honest. So I would give it a solid meh.
Yeah. That's exactly, I think, the way that I feel about it. I mean, I put the blame of the sequels on this movie for being the one that sets it up the way it does. But so I mean, I'd give it even less than a meh. Like I walked out feeling very empty inside. I felt, like, I mean, the Luke's face when he looks at Rey, who's holding out the lightsaber, like his face, that's like, like that was me. Like when I like walked out of the theater, I was like, what did I see? Like, what did I just, like, I was expecting so much, right? And it was just like, I was so let down. But I mean, uncomparably to the other ones, like I mean, it's kind of the same. Like I give it a solid meh, but the other ones are interesting enough because, like, I think the three of us can all agree that, we like those ones even less for majority of the film. I don't know. Would that be the best way to put it, I guess?
Yeah. I'm kind of just meh. Like, all right, whatever. It happened.
Whatever.
Can't change it.
And that's the thing. It didn't need to happen. And this movie and the following two movies have totally changed the narrative of like how episode 6 leaves things off.
Yeah, that's probably the thing that scorns me the most, to be honest, is just the effect it had on the other movies. Yeah. But like, I don't know, I've kind of reached a point where, like, in my heart, I almost pretend they don't exist.
Exactly. That's the way I see it too. I mean, I've been returning books that have, like, as you know, like, just that was helping, like, setting up these new films. And I've tried so hard to get into this story. Like I've genuinely, like, tried to like it, by buying the comic books, buying the books, like even though I haven't purchased any Lego from this era, I just, like, I've definitely tried to do my best to embrace what Disney was doing. And I just really couldn't. After Rise of Skywalker came out, I walked out and I was like, it's done. Like, that's it. It's over. We're not going to get any more. I'm fine with that. Like, wow. I mean, focus in on another era. The anthology films have been great. Like, I do not care for the sequels at all.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm kind of sequeled out at this point,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to take a look at some stories happening prequels. So some stuff with like the original Republic and the Jedi Order.
And that's the crazy thing is like people have always wanted that. I
Yeah.
don't know why they just didn't George is kind of the one who and I hate to point the blame on him. I mean Disney's obviously the one that decided to throw his outline away, but I mean George was the guy who had the idea to do 3 more that followed episode 6. So like it started with him. If he just sold the company and didn't even bring it up, I'm sure that they wouldn't have tried to make an episode 7 unless it kind of had George's blessing behind it. They did get on this bandwagon because of him. Like it was that initial outline to script to redo another script that actually sparked this whole trilogy to happen. And then even Solo was like his idea. And so like a lot of what they've done so far, aside from Rogue One, have kind of been based on his legacy. And I think we're in this really interesting time right now where Rise of Skywalker is done, and we've had statements from Lucasfilm saying, we're going to take a step back, reevaluate what George has done with Star Wars. Like,
yeah, I think they realized that.
They took a wrong turn, right? But yeah, and so we've had those statements come out, and it's been very upsetting and confusing to hear. But they're going to take a step back, reevaluate what George has done with Star Wars, so that they can plan out what they're going to do going forwards. So I can get behind. I just hope that the next time around that we actually see a live action Star Wars movie that ends up being something that everybody likes, and not something that's split fandom down the center.
Yeah, I think that'd be good too. I agree.
Yeah. Because I mean, here's the thing: like, we all feel very strongly about Star Wars because we're all Star Wars fans, and I think that's the best
attached.
Exactly, and that's I feel bad for Rian Johnson sometimes because even though his movie is like known to be kind of the most controversial of pretty much every Star Wars movie,
a heaping pile of garbage. You mean?
I just feel bad for the guy because so much of the sequels hate just goes directed towards him, and the way and it's not all his fault. Like it's divvied up amongst a lot of people in charge, but I mean, he was the writer director of that film, but I mean, it's just 1 out of 3, so it's like whatever. But I think like one of the things that it comes down to in the end is that there's a lot of blame to go around, and hopefully the next time around they have the right people in charge. So I guess there's a lot of hope from people that we're going to have, like people like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni in charge of another Star Wars movie, or even Kevin Feige, who's a huge Star Wars fan, been successfully producing Marvel films for years. He's going to be eventually doing a Star Wars film that news came out I think earlier this year.
Honestly, I just want Dave Filoni to step into the George Lucas role and kind of be the master of everything, and just have an overlooking point where he sees all the stories and keeps everything in line. That's what I want.
See, and that's the thing about George Lucas, like he's never been a businessman really. And I think that's why he elected Kathleen Kennedy to be his CEO even before he sold the company. And it was to kind of almost like legacy carry her through into employment under Disney's umbrella, so that he would still have a little birdie to whisper to who would kind of do his bidding. Mr. Lucas pulling a Palpatine move here. But
yeah, honestly, I think that was the original game plan as well.
Yeah, I think that was his game plan, because Disney had already, like Bob Iger had already said, like, we're not buying your company to, like, respectfully, we're not going to buy your company based on a contract that has to make your movies. Like, we're going to make our own movies with your IP that you're going to sell to us for $2 billion. I mean, like, it's fair enough to say. So I get it, but so then George was like, okay, well, I'll just elect my buddy to, like, my friend, longtime friend and producer Kathleen Kennedy, to step into that businessy chair, and I'm still going to be calling all the shots as creative consultant. Well, like, that creative consultant role went right away down the drain as soon as they tossed away his outline, because he then decided, well, if they're not going to use my outline, what's the point of me staying here? Kathleen Kennedy, left with nobody to give her advice, hires the person that she thinks is best for the rewrite of this new script and the new film, which is J.J. Abrams. And, after a couple of pleas to get him to take the film, he takes the gig and makes Force Awakens. But I mean, obviously, she's not the best person to be making creative decisions as far as Star Wars goes.
I think that was the big part of it.
Knows anything about
she was
it.
a producer, right? So she was dealing with, like, money and keeping everything in line and coordinating stuff, but she wasn't. Yeah. She's not a story person. She never has been.
No, and I'm sure she's a great producer. Like, I'm sure she's fantastic at what she's supposed to do as a story, planner, and like, it's just not her job. It's just not her in her set of.
She's
skills,
not a creative.
No, she's not a creative. Yeah, I mean, like,
she's the business side of it. That's what producers are. They're not supposed to be key creative people.
Exactly. Yeah. The business side of it. And it's like, that's great as long as you're teamed up with the right person who can make all those story decisions for you. Right. And I think her issue is, like, she's never had somebody who's solidly kind of been there, because even if you could make the case of J.J. Abrams was supposed to do the first, Rian Johnson the second, and Colin Trevorrow the third, because all three of them were kind of announced around the same time to do one of each. Right. Like, at least what they could have done is have the three of them just hash it out in a room and frickin' write the sequel trilogy right then and there, plan out all the three films, and then just do them, like, do those, and not have one and then do the next one and then do the next one. And all they had was maybe one sheet of notes to say, like, oh yeah, this character can go that and do that. And, we'll have these beats for these characters here. And amongst all those decisions, you have Colin Trevorrow getting fired. You've got, like, a lot of what usually happens during the process of making a film is, like, things just change. Right. And so, like,
there's some things that are really unfortunate, like Carrie Fisher passing away.
That too. Yeah. Unexpected events that happen that change the course of the films. And when you don't have a solid group of people that have had this solid plan, I mean, it becomes very, very difficult to navigate those rough waters when all of a sudden they're stuck as to what they're going to do. And I mean, this is a story that a lot of us feel very strongly about. And to go back to what I was saying about Rian Johnson, like, he put it in the best way possible, is that, like, that's why Star Wars fans get so upset about things and get so angry, because they feel more passionately about this than almost anything else in their life, like, which is, like, it's fair to say. I mean, so yeah, it's I mean, I don't know, I guess the best way to look at it was probably be the way that George Lucas put it in that one interview, was like, well, the point of Star Wars is that you move on with your life.
I still
love that a lot.
Just classic George.
Yeah, classic George.
What's wrong with you nerds?
all right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next time on Star Wars Escape Pod when we watch The Last Jedi commentary track. We also have The Mandalorian coming out very, very soon. As of this recording, it's actually going to premiere in just a couple days. I think it's the 30th that episode comes out. So when you guys hear this recording, the first episode of The Mandalorian will have already been released, which is pretty crazy. So it's possible that I might actually drop this a little early. But I don't know. We'll see about that. But we're planning to do the recording for an after show, the very first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. We're going to be chatting about it after show style. So if any of you guys remember, last year we had a series called The Mandalorian Nights. And Mandalorian Nights are basically just the evenings in which the Mandalorian episode came out. And roundtable style, we'd be getting together, just chatting about what we saw. So we're going to be doing the same thing, but we're going to be doing it a couple days after the episode comes out. and dropping these episodes probably midway through the week sort of thing, because they're going to be a little shorter. So that'll be kind of a new routine going forward as we do Mandalorian Season 2 coverage. And that's pretty much all the news I got. So just so you can stay on top of it. That's kind of up the chain, as well as Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker commentary tracks. But anyway, let us know what you thought, and we'll catch you guys next time. May the Force be with you.